Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Rob over here at Sketchcraft, and joining me for a 3-hour something long commentary on this video is my buddy Uncle Jerk, dude. Uncle Jerk, you there?
I am. I am.
Sorry for asking you to do this.
It's terrible, Rob. You know how much I hate watching you draw and talking. I'm no good at that. I am always so quiet.
So I'm just going to go ahead and hit play. This is actually sped up 4 times. So I think the whole piece took about 12 hours. No, it was sped up twice speed. Was it 4? I can't remember. It took a little bit to do this one. But I would stress that some of it was just because I was a little rusty. So I think in normal mode, this is about an 8-hour piece, about 12-hour piece. But I was a little like, oh man, how do I do this? What do I want to do? I'm just gonna walk people through the beginning. So I'd already basically did the lines digitally and then printed it out in colored ink. You can print it out and then re-ink it with like a waterproof pen, like ballpoint or something, which I've done before. But I have been experimenting, and as you can see here, you can get the right saturations pretty close. And then I just inked it with Copic and a Sharpie multiliner. That's not a Sharpie pen; it's a Sharpie multiliner, which is archival, by the way. The parts that I want to black, and then everything else I left colored. So this way, as I add Copic markers and then color pencil on top, it will tint the lines. This is sort of the theory. Some of this was a little unnecessary, like the orange didn't really have to be. I thought maybe if the bullets were orange, and because I'm going to make those yellow, I thought that would matter much, but they could have been pink. It didn't really matter. Matters sometimes, but not in this particular case. Mostly the blue is because those things are going to be green. And when you put like a yellow Copic marker over there, it turns the lines like a dark green, right? Basic color theory. So I just start off with the skin tones. One of the reasons why I started reworking some marker back in is skin tones are a pain in the ass to do in color pencil.
God, are they ever, man?
Yeah, it takes like an under layer of red, and then you got to do like maybe a peach, but then some pinks and some red. It takes a lot of like mixing. And although I do make a decent profit on my commissions, like I think it's a fair trade for what I charge. I don't charge enough for that. So and it was a little inconsistent. And so I wanted skin tones to be more consistent, not just Caucasian skin tones like you see here, but different ethnicities and stuff. So this was one of the things that sent me down a path of saying, okay, what if I did a base marker, a really light marker, just maybe 1 or 2 tones, and then just do the rest in scribble? Could I not just save myself some time, but could I also maintain consistency? Because reds are another inconsistent marker with, inconsistent issue with color pencil. Have you ever tried color pencils with reds?
Man, I've done colored pencils, I've done Copics, I've done watercolor, I've done distressed ink. Reds are just a pain in the ass, man.
I'm not the only one who thinks this. I remember when they were making the Hellboy movie, Guillermo del Toro said that reds were really difficult to shoot. And I didn't understand that until I really started, messing with just my own traditional reds. So I think it's a little easier with maybe acrylic paint or something. But even then, they can turn out dull. There's a vibrancy I want to my color,
Exactly. And then if you overwork them, they just get muddy and like you lose that vibrancy so fast, and there's no going back.
Right. So I use the reds to do as a marker base, and then I put color pencil on top. And if I need to, I can also do some thin washes of like acrylic on top of that, just to get a little bounce, and it's a term I'm using, a little vibrancy in the red. But that's just here. It's just playing it by ear. So here I'm one of the things I'm doing here is I'm re-adding some red lines in, because once I put the yellow over the orange, they started to disappear. That's where I was like, yeah, I could just leave these pink.
I could just leave this. I'm not doing this again.
Yeah, this is netting me nothing, so I'll just fix it. But like in the hair, where her hair is going to go blonde, so I put orange up there, that actually worked pretty well. So like I said, it's just one of those, you got to learn, what works and doesn't work through experimentation.
Trial and error, folks. And thank God for Rob, because he's out there like constantly doing he sends me like all these messages, and he's like, here's like 50 tests I did today on like one commission, and I'm like, God, I feel like a lazy piece of shit. I'm like
I
over
sh-
here feeling all fucking bad about inking stuff, and I'm like, yeah, all right, Rob.
I think I
Thank
should
you for
start.
doing the legwork.
I should start doing those as like in my newsletter and stuff. But at the same time, part of me is like, I don't know if people should be learning from this. I don't know what to learn from failed experiments. Like maybe they'll start picking them out. That looks good, and then I got a bunch of people making bad art, and they're blaming me for it. I don't know. So you can see I'm putting some orange marker into the shadow. And that's just because I want like all the gold pieces to look like little gold coins. You know what I mean? Little animation. There's
Insert
nothing.
Mario coin sound. Bing, bing.
Yeah, man, dude. I really love subdued painting, like, Ashley Wood and stuff,
Yes.
However, it doesn't seem to be what I like instinctively go for. So, like instinctively, I tend to work in just vibrant colors, and you got to be careful with that because you can turn things into piñatas very quickly,
That's why I always hit you up and I'm like, hey man, what should I be doing here? Because I have a tendency to like actually make stuff look like piñatas, whereas you say that and your shit actually looks good. So
we know who I look up to. I appreciate that, but who I look up to is like people like Joe Chido,
well, who doesn't look up to Joe Child? I mean, Jesus, if you don't know about color if you don't love Joe.
Right. But I think like, he works in those vibrancies and manages to not turn it into a piñata.
Yeah, him and Steve Olaf are the two big guys that I always look at because Steve can go like almost pastel, and I don't know how he makes that work so well, man.
And for my Latino brethren out there, I'm not making fun of piñatas. Right? I'm just saying, like, I don't want it to look like a bowl of Fruity Pebbles. All right, like this can happen with color pencil too. Sometimes because color pencil allows you can mix a lot of color in. Sometimes artists can go way too far with that, and you end up with this like kaleidoscope of color in every. There's a yellow and green and blue and orange in every bit. And I actively try to avoid that. This was
that's the biggest thing I've learned from you, man. Is to get rid of that shit. I used to have like rainbow Prismacolors around all of my stuff when I was done.
Yeah, I mean it's and you got to be careful. Like you do want it to pop, but you don't want it to turn into like again Fruity Pebbles.
And you just don't want to overpower the piece.
Yeah,
you want to let all those lines shine, man, and like that's where you're such a master at, man.
I don't know about that.
I
would
don't know that. I do.
I don't know. I would say I do wish I had like, you do wish you had like a mentor that would tell you,
I do.
The closest I ever had to that was just working in an art department and having art directors go, nope, but they rarely ever explain why. They'd go, it's not working, go fix it. I'm like, you want to tell me how? It's like, you want to keep your job, you figure it out. I'm like, well, that's a way of looking at it. So, so the dark and black that's going to end up in Harley's piece here, I'm actually doing like a mauve shadow as a base. Because you can always go darker. So I want like an undercolor on everything. So if I want to keep it a little light and have some color fluctuation. Now, I'm assuming I could, as I go through this, add enough dark in there that you can't see it, But,
oh yeah.
But again, that's just, once you get to learn to get there, it's just trial and error. And every piece needs its own little, love. I was trying to get that effect where you could see her skin tone around her face with the white powder, Personally, I don't like it. I like just the white face. And I prefer the classical Harley Quinn helmet top.
God, yes.
The Bruce Timm style. But I forgot when I laid this out, the person who bought it gave me a specific like Arkham Asylum corset thing. I'm like, damn. So I threw the pom-pom hair, but I kept the mask, and then I threw the corset top on her top, and just sort of made some adjustments. So, and they were very happy with it at the end of the day. But for a second there, I was like, oh no, like sometimes even with commissions, like I get the idea in my head and I forget to read the damn instructions before I start,
Dude, like I was just reading I'm like a member of like a bunch of like art communities and stuff because I collect a ton of original art. And like I was looking at Mark Bagley, and like Mark is the worst at that, dude. He literally just sent a dude a Spider-Man, and the guy was like, ask for the sensational Spider-Man, Ben Riley. He's like, oh yeah, no problem. And sent him back just a regular Spider-Man again. And he was like, no, Ben Riley. 4 times they went
I,
back and forth. So you're not that bad.
I got to sit next to Mark Bagley at a Vegas con when it was at Southgate, which was this little mini hotel casino outside of Vegas in 2014 for 3 days. And he was awesome, man. I was like, man,
is he as nice as he seems?
He is, dude. And matter of fact, people were really crowding around my table just to stand in line. He shut that down quick, and he didn't have to do that. So, no, he's super nice. And I was like, I told him, I was like, man, I'm a huge fan. I just never realized you look just like that teacher from Incredibles. Like,
oh my God.
He does. He looks like the teacher from Incredibles, but he's super, super. He would take notes on everything and then just go do all his art up in the room,
Yeah.
That's how
That's what I've heard.
He told me he hated drawing Carnage. He's like, I don't know why I made this thing so difficult to do. It takes 3 times as long to do a Carnage as anything else. I'm like, well, yeah, you're trying to get noticed, like, and be wary, be careful what you wish for, right? Like,
yeah, he like the only thing that I ever like. One of my buddies, he was like the same guy that got the Ben Riley piece from him. He got the when Ben Riley like bonded with the Carnage symbiote. I don't even know what the name of that character is, and like Mark Bagley emailed him back and was like, I don't know why my art rep agreed to this, but no. He was like, it's the superior Spider-Man, or the not superior, but sensational Spider-Man. He was like, that costume's a big enough pain in the ass because I'm used to drawing regular Spider-Man, and Carnage on top of that, no thank you.
It's also why if someone asks for like an Overwatch character with all that detail, I actually double the price. I say I can't. Yeah, I used to not, but I was like, the video game characters have too much. So that all, some people will go cool and goes, oh, you can pick something else, but it's too much for that price. I would say too on the piece, folks, you'll see I added an orange base and then I put the red over. That's for a warm red. If I wanted a cool red, I would probably do closer to like a light pink and then put a red mid base over it. And you don't have to be perfect with that second layer. It's not like flattened colors. You can use that brush tip to create little strokes and edges and leave some of it open. So underneath you get a cool red, and then in this case you get that orange underneath, and it just, it feels warmer. So and that's a chrome orange.
I think that's the biggest thing I've taken away from you, man, is like use those a duller, softer undertone, and then just build and build. And you'll be able to tell when you hit that point of like, oh, no, I'm getting close to oversaturation. You can kind of like pull back.
With the way I work, I actually prefer my Copics to be basically near dead. And then I just refill them as I need to, because it keeps it from over or dripping or oversaturating the page, and you can get a little of those drier streaks and stuff in there, which I like. And if the nibs get dirty, you can just replace the nib, but I rarely buy like a brand new pen, I just keep refilling. I've had these set of pens now for over 10 years. So
good God, man.
Yeah. So I've only had to replace a nib a couple times because I don't do a lot of blending and stuff with just the Copics,
Just the Copics, yeah, that makes sense actually.
Yeah, if you're blending and doing all your work with Copics and stuff, you're gonna wear those nibs out way faster. And so I don't do that. I just spot. I actually, man, I really, really loved. I call them chart packs. They weren't chart packs. They were like Prismacolor markers or something. There was like these thicker, duller markers back in like 2002.
Were they black, double-ended?
Well, they had a multitude of colors.
Well, no. But I mean, like the actual pen, they were like black and double-ended.
I think you're thinking like, I don't know. But I'm just saying, marker wise, these were like thicker. They had these like thicker, fatter nibs. You know, I want to say they were like closer to Hershey Kisses.
That's exact. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I could still get those. I think they're Prismacolors, but they don't make them individually, and you can't refill them. But I used to I really to this day prefer using that nib, and I've never been able to find anything that quite mimics it. And refillability is the most important thing to me, folks, because you just run out of more colors than others, and I just don't get. My buddy was trying to get me into the Ohuhu line, and I'm like, man, they're the ink is just as good as that Copic, sure, but you can't buy them individually, and the few that you can, they're never in stock. I just don't. What's the point, you know? Like if I run out of, I'm gonna run through that orange, you know, more than I'm gonna run through the red, you know. Because I'm using the orange for gold and I'm using it for red. So if I'm not spending $50 just to buy a whole, you know what I mean? That's like $50 for one pen when you think about it, even though you're getting like 50 other pens. It makes no sense.
Well, then you end up with those like boxes of like pen. You know, I don't know if you're like me, but like back in the day, I'll still go downstairs and I like go through my stuff and I'm like, why do I have so many? Oh yeah.
I had experimental pens because I bought one of almost everything in the market in the last 10 years. I bought one of everything there is. And then this past year or so, past 2 years, it's not the past year, I've been purging all of them. I kept them long enough, you know, like you're like, well, maybe I'll use it. I never use them. Like I have the stuff I like to use now. And so I've just been donating them to my barber's kids. So every time I go, for the past year, every time I got to get a haircut every month, I also bring a box of stuff, you know, art supplies. So they have all my art supplies now. And I think their wife totaled up. She's like, maybe you should be trading for haircuts.
That's like exactly what I was just getting ready to ask. Like, dude, have you thought about trading? Come on.
Yeah. He has to earn a living too. Yeah. So. But there is a local art supply place I could donate if the kids didn't want them. And I did have tons of extra paper from paper experiments, and I went down there and took all that stuff there.
Oh, that's so cool, man.
Yeah. They were like, oh man, I'm like, look, this is the good stuff. So don't be throwing this one. This right here is, you know, but this is all excellent material. Do not just chuck this in a bin, you know?
God, dude, I grew up dirt poor, man. I would have given anything to. That's so cool, Rob. Damn.
Well, I think, you know, always check your area. If you're going to get rid of supplies, don't just chuck them. You know, always see if there's somewhere you can donate, you know? I mean, my first color pencil set I ever got was given to me by my high school art teacher. It was the schools that no one ever used, you know? And she saw me. It was just my senior year. We had to pick a subject to do to get our, you know, if you did 4 years and you were going to letter in art, you had to pick a subject, you know, do a portfolio review. So I picked pumpkins because I like pumpkins and oranges and greens. And she, and I said, we have to pick a medium. And I'm like, I don't fucking know. We never do anything in this class but draw. I don't, you know, like, so it's a medium. I'm like, I can't buy nothing. I'm like, what do you have? She said, well, I got, you know, paints and color pencil. I'm like, I wasn't good with paints. I tried that at the time and I didn't get it. With color pencil, I figured, well, they're like crayons, right? So I could just do that. Like, and I'm going to be honest, a lot of my color pencil work now looks very similar to that then. Like, it was the first time she was like, oh, wow, you got some talent. I'm like, now, you know, I get compliments 4 years in. But she gave the set to me. She's like, you're doing great with these. If you want them, just keep them, you know? So,
that's so cool, man.
And they lasted me quite the while. I mean, I was still using them all the way into when I was in Germany in the army. So like from 95, about 5 or 6 years there. But I burnt my hand out on those things burnishing.
Oh God.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was doing this like Alphonse Mucha style piece with these insane layers of flowers, you know, for a girl I liked. And I was like, I'll make this piece. And then, you know, blah, blah. And this is the last time I drew for a girl, by the way. It's like, this really wrecked me. I was doing like 100 layers of color per flower. It was some insane thing.
Holy
and it was
God.
Not great paper. It was just this craft paper, but it had a nice feel to it. So it was really not the right paper to work on, but whatever. And so I just gave up color pencil. I just like, I can't, my knuckles can't take it. And it really wasn't until, again, around 2004 about 10 years ago, 14, 15, no, even maybe 16, 17, when I was doing all marker pieces. And I just was getting tired of it. And I was like, I probably could just blend some of these edges with color pencil. So I started looking back into color pencils, and maybe the technology's gotten better. I don't know. But it's not that the technology got better, but we did have more options. And that's when I found the Polychromos oil-based color pencils, which you could put down without a lot of pressure, and they didn't break like the Prismacolors. And those have been the ones that I use.
That's my next big jump, man. I've been stuck on Prismacolors. Like I got super, super lucky. Like I quit whenever I got diagnosed with my hand tremors and stuff. I quit art for 4 years, and I got rid of everything because I was so depressed. I was like, I'm never gonna draw again. And I lost my tattooing job and blah blah blah. And James Banderas Smith, like he sent me some Prismacolors, and I like right around then is when me and you started talking, and like you just opened this whole new world for me. And I would watch your stuff and get so pissed off because I was like, how does it not take him 8 hours to do this? And then when we started talking, you were like, they're called Polychromos, dude. You're using Prismacolors. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, you're working with essentially like a soft pastel, like a mushy substance. I have a couple in my bag I still use when I want to tint something, because they have some very light pastel greens and blues and stuff. And so I do keep a couple around for that, but it's 99.9% Polychromos.
Polychromos, yeah.
I'd also say,
for Christmas.
If you look, 1 second. If you look at Harley's hair, you can see like this version of Harley has that pom-pom stuff where it's black and red in her hair. So I was you could do the base as marker, but then I add the gray, and I just did a base red instead of orange. You can see that red has a different tint to it than the suit, because there's no undercolor. And you can leave it really rough, and then as you'll see, once the color pencil gets laid down, it's going to blend all in. You're not going to be able to see the line. So you don't need to get one of those colorless blenders if you're going to do this kind of mixing of color pencil and marker. You can leave it very rough like that.
Yeah, which helped me a lot, man, because like I used to waste so much, oh my God, so much time trying to get that just perfect and get it all blended and smooth. And
here's another trick too, like Punchline is going to have black in her costume, but I wanted it to be a different hue than Harley's, which is going to be more of like a blue, gray, black, and it's going to be like a purple. So she has purple in her outfit, so I thought, what if I use the same purple base and then I put gray marker over that? And so underneath, you'll still see some purple in her darks, in the dark areas, to tie it in the costume. As you work in traditional media, you got to really find creative ways to reuse the same colors to tie the piece together. If you start adding in too many spot colors or introduce new colors into your piece, it will fall apart. I'm just telling you right now, folks.
It just turns into a blob. Like a mess.
Yeah, the unity fall. It's color unity, I think. And so like you need to unify it, and the way to unify it is to limit your palette and get creative, with reusing certain colors to achieve what you're attempting to go for in the end.
That makes sense.
Still not sold on that teal base. I did pick up a new Copic, some BG23, which I'm gonna try to get that. There's that bright, that teal that everyone likes to use digitally, and it's non-printable. Like I have teal like paints and stuff, and they never have the same intensity. So I'm trying to like still figure out a good way to get that. I'm gonna be using teal a lot in this Zelda piece I'm doing here soon. So
teals and purples always just kick my ass, man. They're like reds. I don't get along with them.
For the purple, the Copic here, I'm just using a V04 as a base. That will get you 90% of the way any way you want to go.
But I had moved away from Copics because like they were just so fucking expensive for me. Because I don't have any like local supply. I have to order everything offline. So if I order a single pen, it's like
I go through Dick Blick for the most part.
Yeah.
But I would say once you pay for a pen and a refill, if you're only using it as a base, that's going to last you a year. You know? Oh, your buddy bought the gunslinger spawn off me, huh?
Yeah, my buddy Dustin, dude, super nice. I mean, just ridiculous. Dustin is just a super nice.
He picked up gunslinger off Brett Bean too, right?
I think so, man.
Yeah,
like
it is Sketchcraft.
I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah,
but like he was talking about how like he loved the piece. Like he was just ecstatic with the way the piece turned out and stuff. But his favorite thing was like, look at all these fucking preliminaries and like sketches and cool shit he threw in. And I was like, I know, dude, it's so fucking cool.
Usually, like, the preliminaries look like the final piece. His, none of it looked like the final.
It didn't. It looked super different, man.
Yeah, I threw all that away. It just was, when I was drawing it, it came out stiff. I don't mind if my sketches come out stiff, but the final one, it just wasn't. I wanted it to animate. And I'm like, this is stiff. This is like a Wildstorm. I don't mean to be mean. I love Wildstorm, but you know what I mean? It's more stiffer, like a pose, you know?
Yeah.
And I wanted it to feel more animation. Lucy, you know, I wanted it to move. And it just wasn't moving. I'm like, I got to throw this away and start over. Which sucks, you know? But I don't know. I really care, you know?
I would say that's another thing that I really learned from you, man, is like, there's like this whole mentality. I can't remember what they call it, but like there's a name for it psychologically. Like I've put so much time into this or effort that
the cost sink fallacy. Like
yes, thank you. Yeah, and like that's one thing
cost sink.
I just like I toss that out the window, you know? Like
the way you got to think about that isn't that you spent all this time on this and now you're starting over. It's that is part of the process. And that's where AI fails. It's not iterative. That's just part of, you spent that time learning that ain't how to do it, you know, which will help you now make an informed decision on how to do it. And so throwing that part of keeping it means it's like when you just get a bad AI, right? Oh, I'll just hit the button, get another and hope I can pachinko my way to a final piece. Like that's not going to work. So, they just paid you to learn. That's how I think about it, you know?
Good way of putting it, man.
Yeah, and the trick is to learn from it, you know, to actually learn from it and not to, you know, be like in a panic mode. I gotta go. Just chill, you know, like it's fine. You know, what am I trying to do? Like her right now with Punchline, you know, I looked up this character. I was not familiar with the modern DC stuff, you know, and I just felt with the design, I'm like, I get the name and I get the idea, but it was like, I was like, if she's with the Joker, she's for Joker, she's got to have green in her outfit somewhere. You know, I just couldn't, like the color. I still think the design of this character needs some Bruce Timm 90s love, you know? But I didn't want to go and just redo that. So instead I gave her some blades and made them green. So to represent. But her hair is black, and so it's like, okay, I want it to be colorful, so I went bright blue, and then she has these pink streaks in there, and so I was just like, how much of that's going to be marker, how much of that's going to be pencil? So because I tinted her hair pink, when I put the blue down, they faded a bit, so you see here, I'm just going to be touching these up with the polychromos, which I didn't intend to do, but it's not a big deal, but it's just like, I was just like, I haven't really ever done a giant mass of hair like this with the marker color pencil mix, you know, the Scribbly style. I've done it all in color pencil and it works, but I could spend 8 hours just on that hair with my old with just color pencil. You could spend a long time. I'm like, all right, man, this needs to, you know, we got to move here. So, and mind you, this piece is 12 by 16. So when I say it took 12 hours, it's not like a little commission. You know? So this probably would have took about 6 hours on a 9x12, but I really would have not recommended 2 characters on a 9x12, you know? Like unless they're doing like a half body fight or something. you know, like the half body fight poses.
Gets so cluttered so easily, man. It's just hard to manage.
I mean, that and it can work. I mean, guys like Eric Canetti can really make that work, but I think he's also like putting so many like those designer lines down on the page. You know?
Eric is like a friggin' wizard, dude. I
Oh
love
yeah,
watching
he's
him
one of the
work,
greatest
dude.
ever. But he has like that really almost like the Alex Nino lines, right? In some ways.
Yes. Oh, dude. Yes.
And
Yeah.
so like that makes up some of the drawing. And I'm like, well, it's not gonna work for me.
I am not Eric Kiney.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to think this a little bit more a little more straightforward. I mean, in this way, a little more Bruce Timm, right? Bruce Timm would be more direct, right? That's also where it helps having like a real consistent base figure technique. Like there's two ways to draw figures, like really designy and then really consistent. I always liken it to like, you know, the consistent way is the action figure and the designy way is like a statue, you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, you know, if these were a book, I'd have to really kind of like, I wouldn't say pare down the style, but I'd have to pare it down to be far more consistent, you know, so that you could layer up figures and get it done. Some people frown upon it. I mean, I've sat next to artists who goes, oh, I like everything needs to be unique. And I'm like, show me that in any consistent book where everything, I mean, that could fall apart. I mean, I love Sienkiewicz, but there's books where he's done that and it falls apart, you know, where everyone's too disconnected, you know, style wise. Like,
Yeah.
and Sam Keith, I love Keith, man, but some of his weirder stuff people don't get into because of that, right? They want a little bit more consistency. And you can see that like the cartoon has 100% consistency, right? So, you know, it's just, you just got to figure out what's working for you.
And here and what you're trying to achieve too, you know? I mean, that's like such a big part of stuff.
So I'm just going to throw a cool gray on top of that blue, you know? And it will.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just brings, yeah, that does. Man, that works. I'm jealous.
Well, now you know what to do, jerk. You know.
I know, but I always try that, and I'm always like either a shade, like I always just go a shade dark with I'm still trying to learn like where that vibrancy level for the underpainting
I'll tell you,
is.
with Copics, it's really easy. Just stick with the 0-1s. Stay out of the 000s.
Oh, okay.
They're too faint and too watery and too alcohol-y to get anything out of. So like with marker, like with the grays, I usually use like a 0.3 or 0.5 tops. And if I need a dark, I can do the color pencil, or I can do a blob of a 7 or something. But you do want to stay around the 0.1, 0.4s, you know, for the most part. Now some of these other things, like these teals, this is like a 2.3 and a 4.1. That's because I'm going to be using, that's where you get that intensity of color, you know. But this particular blue, that's a B12. I started with, is that a B12? BG01 that I started off with. So it's, you know, and then you put that. See this? You see that's a 7. I'm just doing little spots with it, you know.
Yep. Man, that comes
now the paper helps. This is watercolor paper, so this is a hot press fluid. I use the Fluid brand. They have 100% cotton. I don't like it. People are like, this is the one to use. I'm like, I think it's garbage. So I like the synthetic. It just has a smoother plate finish, closer to Bristol. But you can beat this stuff up pretty good, and it doesn't fall apart. So
that's so important.
And everything's waterproof. So like these are oil-based ballpoint pens. So when I put, you know, watercolor over it, it won't blend, you know? Yeah. Or if I put, yeah. And that's important too. You can't just use can't use gel pens. You can't use, you know.
Yeah, no, God, no.
Everything's going to be waterproof. And so I'm just tinting the edges here with with actually blue to get more green, if you can believe that.
That makes sense.
You can use the green too, but the blue I think gives you more of a color fluctuation.
If it works for Rob, it works.
But yeah, because I'm getting ready to start a piece this weekend that's gonna be like a 3-piece, where it's got like a 12 by 16 center and 2 8s that sit to the left or right, so the person who buys them can put them anywhere on their wall, kind of thing.
Oh, nice.
And
Cool.
the backgrounds sort of link up, you know, in a designy way.
What figures?
It's just gonna be this Zelda Link, this Link in the center.
Is it the Zelda one? Cool.
Yeah, and then the I haven't shown this, but on the left and right of it will be a GameCube and then a GameCube controller.
Nice.
With a little mini chibi version of a couple of the characters, you know, posing. So rather than try and throw all those details into one piece, you know.
You gotta learn to separate that stuff up, man.
Yeah. I mean, I've
Otherwise-
thrown it all into one piece. I've done giant posters with endless controllers and stuff, but it's like, you know, yeah, I have found the Scribbly looks good when people can see the texture. So the smaller everything is, the you know, so those elements will get done larger. Yeah.
Yeah, I always notice that whenever I look at even your prints and stuff where you do stuff bigger, it's super cool to see how much like separation you get there, like how much more detail you can actually make out, and not in the sense of like seeing lines, but just like the life and the breadth of the piece.
This is funny. I just put these greens down, and I'm like, I don't know how much green I should do with marker. I'm like, I can even now. I'm like, I can't remember how much I did. Like I could see myself tapping the table, like, maybe I should hold off on that, because you can get more. You can control the blends better with the pencil than marker. Curious. Well, we're gonna find out.
We will see, folks. We will see.
This particular tape, artist tape I use, is horrible. I after this piece I ditched it because it peeled off some of the paper on the edges. It looked fine on the piece. Like it just looked a little designy, you know, little artistic.
Yeah, I hate that. There is nothing worse than going to take off, and it's because it's so satisfying, and you're like, I used to love it, and like at one point I was like, that's one of my favorite parts is like taking off the tape, and you were like, wait until you rip one. And I was like, I've never done that. And like 2 weeks later, just the top shredded on one of my pieces. And I was like beside myself, pissed off. And I was like, of course, Rob was right. Rah!
Here I am doing a test blend with the color pencil for her hair. Because I'm like, was this going to work? Because when I did her hair there on the test piece, I felt like it wasn't, like it was a good start, but it wasn't what I was going for, you know? So
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I need to... You know, having a test piece allows you to go too far, you know. So sucks. Like you gotta like. That's why even now, that's why I don't like doing convention pieces when you gotta do everything right there. You know.
I don't know.
I lean on a lot
guys,
less.
man.
If I have to do a piece at a store or at a convention, I do a lot. You know, like because it can just go too far.
Yeah, and once that falls apart, it's either start over again or they get what they got.
They get what they got.
And that don't always make people happy.
And there, that's just blending the red with the pencil. And you can see that line just disappear.
Friggin' reds.
I know.
Killing me. You're killing me. I see these dudes do all these Spawn pieces, and I'm always so jealous. I'm like, how the yeah, no, I'll just leave that to you guys. You can have all these.
I'll
red
say that,
characters.
not for all of them. There's brilliant artists out there, but I'll say this: I've seen a lot of Spawn commissions in person, and they're not as saturated as their phone pics. would let you know.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to tell in this day and age when you look at
Yeah.
people's stuff and you're like, contrast adjustment, I see.
Every now and then they turn up at a
alright.
show, or when I was at the Spawn office, there's a few there, you know, the actual physical ones. People, you know, they get bought up, man, but you never know who's buying your stuff. And I, you know, you see these and you're like, oh, I saw that one online. You're like, that doesn't look anything like you filtered. So I try to make certain that my pieces look better, you know, than what you saw online.
Yeah, that's my thing is like I'll use contrast adjustment every once in a while just to try to get it to look like natural. But like if it looks like it's like popping, you know what I mean? Like more than the piece, I'm like, nope, throwing that away. Because it's like false advertising. I would be so, and I have had that happen. I collect mostly black and white stuff, but like I have gotten color pieces where you like see it online, or somebody even sends you a pic, you know, and they're like, oh, here, I'm done, you know, and they send it to you and you get it and you're like, yes, yeah, you, why, this is, no.
It's funny. Yeah, I think with the test piece, a lot of times I was finding like it was starting to look real squiggly lined and not solid. And so that was just something that it's like you got to be careful, especially at the end when you throw in Posca. You're not, that I'm adding, like, the idea is to add energy. It's not to turn it into like a bowl of ramen soup with color, you know, like,
Yep.
or silly string. People know what that is.
I do.
I
Me
hate
and
the-
my
I hate the
old
smell.
ass.
Hate the smell.
I just hate silly string friggin' period, man. My little sister went through a period where she was obsessed with that stuff for a few years, and I will, if I ever see that stuff again, it's too soon. I think the only thing I'd ever screw around with is like getting the web shooters they have that have the silly string. That I could probably get like
Yeah, but I can't take the smells. So here I think I'm using an indigo and then I'm going to black. I would almost bet on it. Yeah, I'm using the indigo first. And the indigo, the polychromos indigo is very close to black, but it has blue in it. So before you go to black, you can start with the indigo and then use black where you need to. And you'll just get good color fluctuation. So I go through those indigos like 3-1 compared to the blacks, you know?
Yeah, oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I always torch my my light oranges. Those are like my ones that I eat up. Man. Sorry, guys, I apologize. I will space out because I'll just sit and watch like Rob work. Like, I used to have time to like sit and watch his streams and like hang out and like watch him draw and stuff, and like I just have not lately with my life. So forgive
Well, I
me.
don't know if I'll be streaming or how often I'll ever stream again. I've found that these days people just want to talk about things that I can't have my mind on while I'm working. So I like to interact with people, I really do, but I can't be telling people in intricate detail why I really like Predator Badlands and they don't, while I'm trying to create a piece of art. You know, like I just can't do it anymore. Like I can't do it. So these videos will be the way, you know, that I can reach out to folks and whatever. I still want to do like a live thing at least once a month. I just don't know what form that'll take place in or how to do it, you know.
And I also want people to shut up while I'm doing it and only talk. No, I'm just.
No, that's not it.
I'm
It's just, you know what I mean? They get in
bro,
and it's like,
I
or
get no.
I'll tell you what too, you know, now that I'm producing regular comics, you know, I don't want someone to go, hey, what'd you think of this new issue of so-and-so? And if I didn't like it, now I'm on someone who's like a peer, right? So yeah, like that's another thing I've thought about where I'm like, I can't do that. So that's why when we make the shout out videos, we know I'm fair, but we're covering things that largely aren't new. you know, or if they are new, they're like movies or something adjacent to comics. Like I'm not going to review the new issue of Absolute Batman, even though I love it. You know what I mean? Because what if I say, oh, this part of the story, and then I have to hear, you know what I mean? It's not a place to be in. Mort Drecker once said at Comic-Con, I heard him speak, and he said something about that, like never punch someone in their lunchbox or something. You know, like it's real old school term, you know.
I was gonna say that sounds so much like Mort.
Yeah. So I don't know. You know, I mean, a lot of the people do like whatnots, and I don't know. I can't. I mean, if I had no other way to sell my art, maybe I'd start doing that. But at the same time, like I can't auction and draw. I don't know how that works.
I don't get that, man. I think a lot of those guys have like, you know, multiple like helpers, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like their spouses or like a rapper or whoever it is with them.
Yeah, I'm on my own.
Yeah, exactly.
My wife's like,
I do not have that luxury.
My wife's like, you can do whatever you want, but you do it alone. I'm like, okay.
This lonely road.
Yeah, that's the one rule we got around here. You know, do not involve her in this shit. So I don't. But no, I like this format too, because although it takes me a little bit longer to get stuff up, I do think over the next couple years, as long as it's consistent, you know, people just get acclimated to it and they end up preferring the newer to the older, you know. So.
Oh yeah, well yeah, and like also whenever you're like this, you can pay way more. I don't know, you can just be more attentive. Like sometimes I would listen back to my streams and I was like, did I just go off on like a 30-minute diatribe about whatever the hell that was that no one asked me about because I'm fucking crazy? Yes, I did.
Yeah, there's days I do get like artist lonely. I'm like, oh man, I'm lonely. And then I'm just like, just shut up, man. You know, like I have to go, who cares? No one cares about your loneliness. Get to work. So
I do, Rob. That's why I'm here.
I go spend time with my dog, you know? He's so lonely. Yeah. Oh, they want to go fetch and play flag. So go do that. I enjoy talking to you, you know, and I enjoy the regulars. I mean, I still got people now that show up from like 2010, you know. And
Isn't
that's
that
always
cool, man.
Yeah, it's always super nice, man. So I'd like to be able to check in with it. But at the same time, you know, like I'm prepping now a new comic series. I can't say what it is, but I am prepping, and I'm like, look at the work schedule. I'm like, I did last time I did this thing called the NDA podcast where like I streamed previous art behind me while I worked. And I might do some of that, you know. So this might show up behind me while I draw or something, you know.
Yeah, those were always fun.
Yeah, that might happen. But we'll see. I don't know. YouTube hasn't made it easy too, you know, like streaming videos kill
anything easy.
Engagement and everything else.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. And I never get any views on Twitch. So.
That's so weird, man. Like I don't get that. Like whenever I was on Twitch, it always went so well for me. I used to do like 5 nights, 6 nights a week on Twitch. I just work slower when I talk. And I realized like at a certain point, I was like, you know, I'm getting about a third of the work done that I really need to get done. And I just can't do that anymore, man. Yeah. Like when it became like, you have to make money off of art, like, or you're going to lose the house. You're going to lose the car. Like you need to be working, dude. You know, I was like, yeah, well, I guess Twitch is going. And I feel bad, man, because people are always like, when are we going to do that?
I like to think this is a good compromise. You know, like
no,
put
this
3-hour thing up, you know, it's going to go unlisted, but the fans are going to get it. And, you know, and so, hey, you know, would you rather have 3 hours a month or twice a month, maybe, you know, once or twice a month or nothing? So, and no offense, man, I've bought those like Domestika tutorials, you know, and it's always like you see this really good like picture of what they're gonna make, and then you get to the actual piece, and it's like the most shorthanded, you know, conversation ever about what went into something. Oh, dude, and I'm like, You know, man, I think this right here is worth whatever they're charging at Domestika, but I ain't charging for it. It's putting info out there, man.
Which is what you're good at, man. It's one of my favorite things about you, dude. How much you like share and teach and like try to show people like experimentations and what works and what doesn't work. Like I'm constantly sending people to your channel and Instagram and Facebook and stuff. Like just go read what he has to say. If you have questions, ask him and stuff. Like he's so super cool about answering questions because like
Yeah, I
saw
appreciate
it.
that. I also think too, like, the algorithm wants these 20-minute like things or 1 hour, like Tony Robbins, like,
Yeah.
here's how you become a professional. I don't know how to be a professional artist. Even when
nobody does.
Even when I was in a like physical art department, what they wanted from me changed almost day to day. like you could be doing the greatest thing ever, and then they never want to see that again.
That's beautiful, Rob. Never do it again.
Literally, I've gotten that. And so it's like, you have to. When do you have time to reinvent? Like, so I'm really wary. That's why I like to focus more on here's what I'm trying to make, here's what it took to get there, and hopefully that'll help you get through it. You're not trying to emulate what I'm doing, but it's helping you accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, So, by half put out tip videos, like here's my perspective, but they're never like super fancy. I think I cut through, not to get myself a little problem. I think I cut through the difficulty of it so much it looks simple. So simple that no one's interested, it doesn't look too complex. Oh yeah, it's real simple. I'm like, no, I really feel like I have some 10-minute, 15-minute tutorial breakdowns where I'm like, I should be making thousands of dollars off a bit of info, like whatever. Like a lot of the stuff
making some real money.
A lot of the stuff gets over explained, or they feel like they have to wrap it up in something that makes it seem more professional, quote unquote. And I think at the end of the day, you got to make art, especially with the rise of AI generated imagery. You got to make art that is representative of you more than anything else. And how do you get to? It's not even style. I just think it's expression. I think we need to stop using the term style. Style implies you draw a certain way. I think expression is how you express yourself creatively, emotionally.
Well, yeah, and I was gonna say, because like I think the best like breakdown I ever heard of style, and it's not just one person. Like Kirby said it, Ditko said it, a bunch of people said all separately. Not like they heard each other say it and then they said it again, but it's like style really is, and Neil Adams even, like style is really just a collection of the mistakes that you make as an artist that people see, that defines the way that you feel or felt while making that piece. And that's what really people call style. So,
yeah, but I think because they came from a realm of professional illustration, right? That whole era of, instead of taking photographs, a lot of things were drawn. That when they were using the term mistakes, they're using the things mainstream media would mainstream publishing would delete, and so you end up in a generic art style. I'm trying to take it a little bit further, or to modify it beyond that, where it's like, I say eliminate the term style, because style means like, oh, I'm going to draw, this is Jim Lee style. Style is irrelevant in an age where all styles coexist simultaneously now. There's no leading art style, there could be an abundance of one or the other, but things right now are selling. Bluey the dog is selling just as much as K-pop Demon Hunters. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, like, very drastic different. I think expression, when you get to the individual artist who is selling their work, their comics, their stickers, their shirts, their toys, whatever they're doing, you got to get into expression. And expression is a combination not of mistakes, but of intentional thought and feeling, and and what makes that piece unique to you as an artist, as opposed to you being like what Cartoonist Kayfabe would call jobbers, right?
He is.
Right, which is an unfair term because people got to earn a living. I understand what they mean by that. It's a wrestling term. But
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I loved kayfabe, but like if there was one thing that they ever repeated on that channel that just made me want to punch a hole in the screen, I was like, "Oh, really? Jobbers, huh? Jobber?"
I wouldn't call Glenn Keane a jobber. All right, like. Is he a company man? Yes. Does he work in a style that is? Yes, but not a job. Not a guy there to make another person look good, or make the company look good, or just to be like a paid show. Like that's not it at all. And we really, in a realm now where I think a lot of persons' quote unquote styles really are defined by time. Time to do things has been like, well, you only get this much time, so that's what you produce. And sometimes that works to the benefit. You end up with something like the Drew Struzan Thing poster, Oh, man, Other times it takes a full week to do like the Phantom Menace poster, right? So I don't know, you know what I mean? Like if time is exactly the best indicator of that. And what has happened, in my opinion, over the last 20 something, 30 years, is the shortcuts have become the standard way to work. And now everything starts to homogenize, right? There, you can say there's a house style has appeared, and what I call like that generic looking clip studio paint style, where it's really thin, wispy lines and halftone inks and that halftone brushes everywhere, right? Because it fills up a lot of space, it gets it done fast, and when you don't have to think about thick or thin, you just go right to these thin razor sharp lines. Then you get a lot of work done. However, I mean, although it's not like there was a lot of gobbledygook in the 90s, right? When they were producing too many books at, say, Extreme or Wildstorm. But in a way, it sort of is the modern version of that. Maybe it's better executed because people have focused more on form and anatomy now than they were then, to some extent. And in other ways, it's worse because at least that stuff was on paper and it had a weight to it that the digital stuff doesn't, And I work digitally and traditionally, so like I understand to get weight into my digital lines has been an active goal of mine over the last several years. And so a part of that's come from doing traditional and then coming back to digital and then back and then back, and then doing tons of tests. Like I constantly I'd take a piece of Bill Watterson and basically delete half or turn half of it red and re-ink it, or political cartoons, Oliphant and these guys, and to see can you not tell what's digital and what's traditional at that point. And I felt I caught pretty close on those where people just couldn't tell. So now even on my own book, like on Spawn Kills, people have asked me, is that digital or is that traditional? And I'm like, well,
yes,
depends on what stage.
Yes,
depends on what stage. So I have found for production, since other people color my work, it's easier to hand them a layered file of different elements, than to hand them a solid piece.
Infinitely easier, man.
Yeah, for them. And that's, if it were me, I wouldn't need it. I would know exactly how to do what I needed. But for them, you have to think about that, So, but here, this is me going over digital lines with a lot more lines. There's a lot of lines in that thick and thin. It's like I'm scribbling into the thick and thin, like, so it's not, putting lines into lines. It's a weird thought, right? Like,
it's the thing that intrigued me most about your art. I got like a Uncle Jerk that Rob did for me a few years ago, and I catch myself still, like, I think it's 3 years ago that you did that for me, and I still find myself like sitting and staring at that thing, and like his art has come, it's not in a negative way, but his art has come a long way since then. And it's just like looking at his stuff, I just
that piece you got was 100% color pencil.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So these days I would do the mix, just for time.
I got spoiled boils and ghouls.
But
Trust me.
I would say, I think for like, I don't know, like there are times I look at that and I'm like, some of that I might just do all color pencil. If it was like a cover piece and I wanted to render like a boot with a really soft hue, it's just there's some softness. There's more softness you can get out of that than you can when you go marker base.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
You know?
absolutely.
The marker base, I can get more vibrancy of color, and I can get, I can spend more time being textural with the scribble, you know.
Whereas that's a good description.
Right.
Yeah.
And with your piece, I'm rendering the form, but I can't go too far into I can't stylize the texture any, you know what I mean? Like, because it will ruin the form. So
interesting. Yeah, okay.
So each has its own strength and weaknesses, essentially. And I think for myself, it was just like, you know, I know how to do it the hard way. Do I have to? Is there a perceptible difference for the audience? And that's why I started showing you pieces. I'm like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? You know, and I'd get your take, and a few of my other artist friends, I'd get their takes. And it just came down to when they could see the texture more, they liked it more. Even though the other ones were maybe softer and had a lot of subtleties that were nice, it wasn't perceptibly different, you know, at the end of the day. So
yeah, especially not time wise, you know. Yeah. Especially not like time investment.
Also, if I got hired to do a piece, like they saw the Uncle Jerk and said, "Well, I want you to do something like that," but with like, you know, let's say the Justice League, it would take a while to figure out how to get all those colors just with the color pencil. But with the marker base, I can spot the color and be consistent, you know. So again, consistency is the thing too that you want when you're doing multiple figures, multiple pieces. You want to make sure that every time they're getting something similar to the last. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, when you've got 18 spawns on one page.
Hey man, that's different. Like that, I was having a conversation with some of my editorial on that. I was like, you know, I heard some people complaining those pages were hard to look at, but you know, once you put 5 spawns and they're all wearing red on a page, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know how you break that up. You know, you can do all the glows and color airbrush pass behind whatever you want. It's still, spawns weren't meant to be 5 on a page. You didn't design it as a team book, you know. No. So you gotta be a little bit more creative sometimes. So I'm still working that out, you know.
I don't know if there's an answer to that one though.
You know what I mean?
Just don't do it. But no, sometimes you have
just
to do
never do it.
I know. I'm working that one out.
In therapy.
Art therapy.
Isn't that what art is? I'm sorry, that's how I treat art. Am I doing it wrong, Rob?
When I'm coloring, I'm having a good time. No stress. When I'm drawing, that's why you don't see me doing a lot of like the drawing videos. Even now, it's difficult to record my drawing. I have a few from the book I haven't put up yet, and we'll get to it. But once I know I'm being looked at while I draw, I stress out. To this day, I still.
Yeah, I know, dude. Like, I remember, like, in the early 90s, back before my agoraphobia and, like, my, like, just panic attacks and social anxiety got so bad. Now, I would go out to cons and, like, see some of these guys that, like, draw live. And I just, even then, it was, like, jaw-dropping. I'm like, how the hell do you do that knowing people are, like, straight staring at? That's so crazy to me.
It was difficult in the art department. We didn't have cubicles like Pixar in them. We had just open air, you know.
Oh, really?
In 2005. Yeah, so it was like you had to just draw and everyone could just look at you like randomly, like, and they'd be carrying on conversations. And I was like, man, it'd really be nice to at least have a fucking cubicle, you know. Like, they wanted to be able to keep an eye on you to make sure you're working. I'm like, you know how you know I'm working? The work gets turned in, dumbasses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to be looking at me the whole time like a prison. You know, and I remember telling me, do you know what a panopticon is? You know, like, it was deemed the most cruelest prison ever because you were always felt like you're being watched, you know? Like,
am I turning it in? I'm getting
that's
it done.
when I
Leave me the
realized that
fuck
always being
alone.
watched was a form of capital punishment. I stopped stressing about not being good enough to not enjoying. If I don't enjoy drawing in front of people, that's a natural human emotion. That's not because I'm not good enough or something. Drawing or feeling secure where people watch you is not, that's the abnormal, not the normal.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it took me a long time to get over people kind of badgering me about that.
Imagine John Lennon and Paul McCartney and them had to turn on Twitch and show you why they're writing songs back in
Yes, I saw Let It Be. I know what that would be like, and thank God they did not.
I farted. It's my favorite line in that. I farted. Just thought I should let you know.
Just thought I should let you know that.
Thought I should let you know. I'm like, I fucking love Ringo. He's my favorite.
That guy deserved to be a Beatle, if for no other reason than he had the greatest goddamn sense of humor and the most patience. Oh my God.
Yeah, and he gave us, he ended up giving us the best character on Animaniacs.
I don't know what you're talking about. Wacko's definitely not Lennon in this. Not at all.
Who thought to give that character the Ringo voice? You know what I mean? When did that?
Dude, Animaniacs is still one of those things where I look at and I'm like, how did this happen again?
That's why I gave the Chibbulator the is it Yucko or Whack? It's Yucko, right?
Yakko, yeah.
Yucko. Yeah, I gave the Yakko hat.
Oh, you did, didn't you?
Yeah. It's got the Yakko.
Damn, that's never clicked with me.
Yeah. And they actually put the WB tower, but with the Violator face. I had thought that in that series, the Singed would pop out, the Violators, but the writer was not coordinating with me on that one. It's like I gotta be a little bit more forceful next time with that idea. Because I think that still would have made a great 2-page spread.
A lot of things would have made great 2-page spreads in that book.
He doesn't disagree. It's just that I need to be more vocal.
Well, yeah, and then you got to find that, you got to find your sea legs between like sticking up for yourself and knowing what works and working with your writer. And guys,
some things that are obvious to me are not obvious to other people. You have to just sort of remember that.
A lot of things that are obvious to you are not obvious to other people. Now I can say that as somebody who's like copacetic to your thought process in a lot of ways. You say stuff and I'm like, God damn, oh Jesus. Man, I was misinterpreting that. Yeah, you're right, Rob.
Something else too, I wish I need to find a way to do more is to incorporate those phone shots, where like they place the camera like your phone next to the art to get those close-ups.
Oh yeah, okay.
But I just hate having any cameras next to my left or right while I draw. I use my arms so much they just knock everything over.
I know, and I spin my page so much that it's just like I feel like people are gonna get motion sickness anyway, so I gave up on that.
Well, you gotta edit it, you would zoom out at this level, and then you would cut to those, like they're good for like basically Instagram videos and stuff, but I still don't have a good process for that yet. I think what I might start doing is just putting a timer on, and every 30 minutes or so doing it for like 5, and then turning it off.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I mean, I'm sure that's how everyone else is doing it, not just recording the whole thing, but I'll do both. I'll record the whole thing here, but I'll do the phone like every 5 minutes. So I'm trying to add the scribble on her calves so it's like popping off, but I'm also trying to make sure I don't lose the form, So like I start lower on the page, so if I fuck it up, you don't notice as much.
Is that how you do that? I've wondered, and I'm trying my best to ask you questions, because I have a lot of people that ask me about my stuff, and I always basically point them in your direction, because you're really as close to a mentor as I've ever had. You're so open and sharing with stuff, and that is something I've been curious about, because you even with all of the tests and like all the planning, you still go in with like an ability to kind of like change, on the fly as things are and aren't working on the page. So that's cool to know, because I started doing that myself. Like I'll start really low, in the bottom left hand, right hand corner, where I'm like, the eye is not going to be down here first. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I would say keep the scribbles on the faces minimal, unless you're going for a big Sienkiewicz style piece. I just think when people are buying art, they want to see the faces.
Likenesses are a big thing.
So that's why, when artists do personal pieces, they don't do something you never expect. Like maybe the face is all really weird. It's always the thing they're never really allowed to do, And I know, like, my fans be like, no, man, I want you to do, I've had this before. No, I want you to do whatever you think is great, and just, I don't want you to worry. I've heard you. And then I'll do that. And I can see the look on their face when they get it, and
The
I'm like,
shock and horror.
yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'll redo it. The one that I never get was, I did this piece, and I've talked about it before, but I did this cover for a book called Valkyrie. And the guy was super nice. He kept coming up to me at cons for a couple years, and he's like, "Man, I just love your work. I want to hire you to do a cover for my book." And you always say how, like, you can't really do what you want, so I want you to do whatever you want. And I did it, and he hated it, and he never printed it. And I still think it's a really solid piece. I can't figure it out, man. That was the year I did 3 or 4 independent covers for Kickstarters and independent books, and nobody printed my covers as covers except one person.
Except one person.
Yeah, Lauren, she did. Over at Lauren Marshall Sketch Biz. You should check out her channel, folks. I just did an interview with her like an hour.
I was gonna say, you just had a new episode, right?
Yeah. So it's where I was drawing the bat chunk. And then
that's what you were doing. I was gonna say, I was just watching a clip of that earlier today. Like I saw it on Instagram, and I was like, "Oh shit, yes, cool."
So, and that's more of just a spontaneous piece, There's no. That's just drawing something on paper.
Yeah, I always loved like watching you kind of just like free ball stuff,
Let's not use that term.
Come on.
Free ball. Luckily, that's buried an hour and a half in. I get what you mean.
I'm sorry. I meant it as a compliment. All right. I'm a filthy man. What can I say? Not that you guys don't know what Rob shows me off air. Okay. No.
Yeah, I've been grooming him for 30 years. Now I'm making my move. Let's not make grooming jokes. That's going to come back to bite me.
I was just getting ready to say, I am a 41-year-old man, guys.
Yeah,
no fear, all right? I'm not an 18-year-old
just chill,
girl.
folks. All right, so here I'm adding some
Nor
pinks
do we
into
find anything funny about that.
I'm adding some pinks into the grays. And the reason why I'm doing that is not just to add color fluctuation, which you can, and again, you got to be careful. It's that I'm putting the pinks into the white. Because I need a shade into the whites. Once the pink is in the white, I need to make it more unifying across the whole piece. So I need to put that pink a little bit throughout the piece. Otherwise, it will stand out too much. Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't need a lot, but I am throwing it into the blacks a little bit. I'm putting a little bit into her skin. I'm not trying to pink up her skin too much, but just a little bit here and there. So that way it's consistent across her figure. And not just this one part that has it. So you have to think about that as you introduce colors. Again, if you put a little bit of blue into that white, I'm gonna have to put a little bit of blue into the black, just to unify it a little bit.
Yep. Complementing and unifying. That makes sense. Yep. See, it's nice even for me to hear you verbalize some of this stuff, man. And we talk like God knows how many times a week.
Well, speaking of which, do you have any specific questions your friends wanted to ask, or did you forget them all? No,
my brain is shot for
I
shit.
knew
Right?
you would.
Plus, I'm drawing.
Yeah, plus you're drawing.
It sucks, man.
I don't really keep a good Q&A so I can't really tell people.
I'm trying to, yeah, I'm sitting here like trying to think, man. I think we actually, I think we colored. I think I am really with it, folks. Definitely didn't have a 12-hour day today. But no, I think a lot of the thing is, you know, like polychromos seem to be very important because a lot of people do ask about your,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
you
the
don't need a
circle
lot. You don't need a
No.
lot of them. I have a video, the 64 colors I use, and that's still the colors I use. And I'll be honest, out of those 64, I consistently use half of them, really.
Yeah, and I was gonna say because a lot of the questions I get are about polychromos, and I do get a lot of questions about like your integration of Posca, because your integration of Posca into stuff as like a kind of like a finishing move is like it's
Yeah, that's
something
rather new. I did that in the last year.
yeah, it's not, and it's becoming more of like, I don't want to say like an industry thing, but I do see more people doing it, but I don't see nearly as many people doing it like successfully with
Well,
multimedia pieces.
what happened was as I was finishing up the first volume of Spawn Kills Every Spawn, I had some convention stuff planned and some signings at some shops, right?
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, they're gonna want me to draw. And I was like, I was asking the people, the owners. I was like, so they do people want like sketch covers, or he's like, no man, remarks. I'm like, they like remarks. He's like, yeah, that's what they want. Everyone's gonna want remarks. And I'm like, fuck, you know.
The one thing I don't do.
So I had to spend an entire month like with every Posca and art, various acrylic pen there is to figure out how to achieve that fast, consistent, blah 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 blah. And then when I did that, I was doing a sketch cover at this one store. One sketch cover was a Gunslinger chibi, and I had kind of like left some pens at home that I didn't intend to. Right, I packed
Yeah, I
everything, but I
remember.
left this one thing at home. Packed, just left it at home. And so I used the Poscas on top to kind of like whip around some sketchy energy. And that's when I realized, oh, I can use this not just to do highlights and stuff, but I can actually do this in a more impressionistic way. There was some 80s art. This probably comes from like 80s art. There used to be like these 80s artists that would do like who was that one guy that did like the guy that she's based off of, that art style, you know, with the big white faces, the anime faces, that one dude. He had like a Pepsi ad and a bunch of stuff in the 80s. But they used to have like these like, you know, like pink and teal and different kind of like zigzaggy like painted lines on stuff, you know?
Mhm.
And so I think about that and I'm like, all right, I could probably use these pens to throw that on top. And again, if it's called Scribbly, if it ain't quite scribbly enough, I could throw that on top and give you the impression of it being wilder than it really is, you know, without going super scribbly and then it being a mush of stuff.
Is there any big stuff that you have to avoid, like with integrating that Posca to not turn it into mush?
Yeah, well, one, you got to remember, like Poscas will bleed, so always on a separate piece of paper, pump it a bit, you know, pump it, you know, give it a little.
Yeah.
You be careful because it will bleed. Two, remember you can't add too much because Posca paint cracks. Like if you put a big pool of it and you let it sit there and dry, it will crack. So what you need to do is one of two things: either think of it as like a light source, or think of it as just like, I want to say like a sketch. You know, like if I was just taking my pencil and and throwing some sketch on top.
So like basically gesturing on top.
Gesturing on top, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's much more of a gesture. Yeah. And so when I'm at that phase, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not thinking at all.
Just kind of doing like instinctually, like making marks and like this works. It's
mark making. It's much more like, you know, when you see those charcoal like figures and they're making marks and then it's more like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of the big things that a lot of people have asked me, especially since you've like really brought it in, because that's one of the big things that changed after your remarks, man. Because I remember you experimenting for so long, trying to get your time down and using the Poscas and when not to use the Poscas and like figuring out all this interesting stuff on how to get your lines colored, you know.
I've thought about it. Like, I call my art name is Sketchcraft, and I'm like, well, if it doesn't look like a sketch, what the fuck am I doing? Like you know, but I also don't do pencil sketches and stuff because I don't like pencil sketches. Like, also, I told you I see in color, so like I used to do pencil sketches and I'd get headaches afterward. So
Crazy.
yeah, black and white pencil sketches, I get depressed. It's really weird. It's a really weird effect. So I'm like, I gotta achieve this in color. The Poscas have allowed me if I so I don't have, because color pencil too isn't opaque. So sometimes I need to separate lines too or figures, and I can throw the Posca on top and get that separation.
Oh,
Plus,
yeah.
because it's watercolor paper, once it's all dry, I can take acrylic gouache and do some brush strokes too if I wanted
over the
to.
top of it. Yeah.
If I
Okay.
wanted to and blow something out. And just, you know, if you don't mind painting over something you drew, who cares, right? As long as the end result is there. So you can go in a lot of different ways with it. I found that the Posca, I use the Posca pastel sets, and I do have these Thule art pens, but they're so inconsistent with the ink flow that there's some really good alternate colors and they have an extra fine tip set, but I cannot recommend them because they're too inconsistent with ink flow. So
yeah, I have a problem with that with Poscas. So
I don't have the problem with Posca. I have found though that some of these ink nibs, right? Like you can replace the Posca ones and they work a little better sometimes. It's 50-50. But if you get a Posca that doesn't flow right, generally it's just because it's run out of ink.
yeah.
Is
And
what
you
it
were
is.
telling me too, like a cool little tip. I'll just throw this out because like Rod told it to me and I was like, that's fucking brilliant. Like Poscas have the replace, you can pull out the nibs on the end, like and like he was talking about buying the finer tip, like
0.7 millimeter.
yeah, and they're like the fine liners, and you can chuck those onto the big thicks,
The
and
0.5
like
millimeter.
yeah, the 0.5s, and like get the extra ink out of the 0.5, but still have the 0.7 points.
Right. You got to be careful.
Like,
You just want to be careful it doesn't drip, right? Because there's a little bit of extra space. It doesn't usually, but sometimes it can. So just have a towel on hand, you know?
yeah.
And just dry the nib a little bit before you go, and don't press too hard. But the ink will flow right out, and you'll get more ink for your buck. Put it that way.
Yeah, I thought that was like definitely worth. I'm trying to remember stuff as we go because like that was one of the cool things that you mentioned to me where I was like, damn.
But
I am a penny pincher. So.
I like those thinner, extra thin tip because it's just like drawing with color pencil or anything else, you know.
Yeah.
The minute you have to introduce a brush and I have to control thick and thin, I'm out. You know? I don't have any interest in it. I can't feel whatever it is, I'm unable to feel the tip of a brush with the paper. So when I'm doing watercolor, it's fine because I can be looser and it's a thicker thing, you know? But if I have to control like ink, thick to thin, I can't feel it. Yeah, and I've tried every textured paper there is. I can't connect.
Interesting.
Yeah,
and he has tried every friggin'
every paper, every brush, every
under
ink,
the sun.
every nib worldwide. I've spent too much. So
I wish I could give you guys like just a clip of some of the like 2-3 hour conversations we've had where we talk about like papers and like, oh yeah, no, this is great for this and this is great for that, and I friggin' hate this. I'm like, dude, how much paper do you have? And Rob's like, that you don't ask.
Well, no, not much because I've donated it all. But
I'm saying, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
How much paper have you bought? Like,
you know,
much?
I mean, I'm there when, you know, Daniel Warren Johnson starts to take off like 10, 12 years ago. You know, like I see the Scotty starts using the Pentel brushes, the Creature Box guys. I saw all this and I was like, all right, you know, maybe I should convert over to this. I can't feel it. You know, my brain can't connect I don't know what that is. And I started to think maybe it's because I'm a fucking idiot or something. But, then, I go back to that Drew Struzan DVD where he shows him making the Hellboy, and he's like, yeah, I used to paint, but now I just do color pencil. People think this is a painting, but it's just airbrush and color pencil. And I'm like, I bet you he had the same problem. Even when he did the line decker stuff, I bet you it was just a fucking pain for him to do that, And so like you can, through a series of lines, build up something that looks painted, or it's just as good. I mean, maybe it takes me a little longer, than the other guys, and there's nothing I can do about that. At least I know I have tried enough to know that it's not working for me. It has nothing to do with your ability or my ability to be an artist. It has to do with what's connecting. And I've seen guys who can ink brilliantly and can't color with shit, So
a lot of guys.
Yeah, I mean that's just what connects with them.
Yeah, so, I am one of those folks.
If I'm gonna be putting my time into experimenting, I'd rather be experimenting with color than with brush and ink. No one's paying. No one. You know what I mean?
That is the biggest thing I've taken away from you, man. Is like just like when I get into the coloring phase, I try to like zen out and just like enjoy myself.
Yeah, it's fun, man. Like for me, like that's fun.
Yeah, dude, after cutting off the end of my index finger, I have no feeling. And well, I'm sorry,
I know, I forgot about that. I feel so bad for you, dude. It's crazy.
I'm sorry, guys. I don't mean to get depressing, but
Evo Phillips from UHF, right? Just call me Mr. Butterfingers.
Dude, everybody is like, what the fuck did you do to your fingers? A safety window cut off my fingers. All right, guys. But like,
I almost sent you that clip from UHF, but I was like, that's just too neat.
It's not. You should have. I would have laughed my ass off, Rob. I need to laugh at these things.
I like when the blood's in his hair and he's just moving his hair out of his face,
But it was like, I spent like, it's been about a month and a half, I think now, like 6-7 weeks. And like, I got so angry because you have to pay so much attention to that pressure when you're inking. And it's so much of it is like tactile feel. And I kept trying to ink stuff. And at one point I just like got really upset. And I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to get out one of my old drawings. I'm just going to paint on it and just try to forget about stuff. And like, thank God I had been hanging out with you enough to where I just zenned out. And like, I was doing the piece and it's like this like tranquility and this freedom. And like, I did that for, I think about like 5 or 6 days. And when I went back to inking, it was an entirely different thing. I felt so much less pressure and I was so much more free because like, it allows you, if you do it right and you're conscious and confident in what you're doing, like it really does just allow you to change your thought process and relax with art in a way that I don't know if you can really, if most people, I know there are some guys out there, most people can do with like, inking, and especially traditional.
Well, that's why like even the adult coloring books, people find that zen-ish,
Yeah, definitely.
I just know like when we cover art books or we're looking at lines and stuff, you just think, man, look at the work. But when we cover color guides, I just generally go, man, isn't that awesome? Like, isn't that just, it just feels like there's a different process. I'm sure coloring entire books by hand, under the strict deadlines they had, brought a certain level of stress that, we're not getting. However, I know that even now, if I had this art set, in the 90s, I still would have liked to have been in those coloring offices, more than being in like the bullpen, with generally telling you how to draw something,
Absolutely, man. You talk to guys that like even from the 90s when stuff was so hard, like Steve Olaf and stuff, and it's like they just have such a better memory of that whole time period, man. I think that's a big part of it because you can just really have fun and let go.
Yeah, I mean the hardest part is figured out, which is the drawing. you know? So drawing is drawing is hard, dude. I just don't care. If it was so easy, look at ChatGPT. Anytime it tries to render like lines, it fucks up. It has to do the painting thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Even now, you try to get to do like a Jim Lee, Scott Williams crosshatch, it screws all that shit
Nope.
up. Can't do it.
Yep.
Yeah. It's hard. Lines are hard. And it doesn't help that like I see things in a coloring book like way with my lines. You know? So it's like throwing a bunch of crosshatching or feathered edges doesn't really work for me, you know. So it is what it is.
So like that's one thing I would ask you. Like, is there anything that you do, because you think in color, and you've talked to me about it a lot, and it's something that I find really interesting considering how much I love your line work. And I'm usually very obsessed with guys like I grew up on Sam Keith and Stephen Platt, and like I love a lot of the inkers more than the artists myself. Guys like Danny Meeke and Scott Williams are like super talented, even if I don't necessarily like love them always.
Marlo Alquiza too. Marlo was dope.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's I even from an early age, it was like, why don't I love this John Byrne? Why do I hate this John Byrne drawing? I hate it. Because Terry Austin didn't ink it. And it's like there's just this synchronicity that happens.
The finishing line, right?
Yeah. Is there anything that because I know that's a struggle for you, is there anything that you like, a certain mindset or like a way that you get around that, Rob?
What do you mean get around it?
Because if you think about in color, your line work is, for me, it's super strong. You are just incredible at line weights and movement and stuff. Was there a certain like thing that you found that like allowed you to get into that mindset? I guess
diamond brush, dude. Yeah. No, this is a rather newer technique I kind of came up with for Spawn, actually, or like right before Spawn. I used to just do everything with a hard round or a flattened, squishy round brush, like a ellipse, right? Squish, you know? But I kept going over lines, and if you look up my stuff before, it was fine, but it was like, I don't know, man, didn't pop. And then I think it was when I went to go do these Power Ranger commissions for this guy, I wanted to change everything after Overwatch and Crash and stuff. I wanted to incorporate some of what I wanted from Crash. I didn't get into Crash into my art. And so I started thinking about, well, what's Crash to me? Well, Crash, when I'm thinking about this kind of line, I'm thinking of Tenapple, and I'm thinking of Rob Schrab, and I'm thinking of Miglia, and I was like, I need a way to get thick and thin in one turn, but it needs to feel like when I draw. The thick needs to almost happen instinctively. And I just remember back in 2009, I had his buddy Diego Rodriguez who was coloring my work at the time. And I did this full Turtles piece in pencil, because that's what I was doing, everything in pencil at the time, for the Wii Smash Up game. But I made it look, like more like an Image Comics platty kind of Turtles thing, and little clearer than that, but whatever. And so he colored it, but he colored it in a way I'm like, this feels different. What did you do? And he goes, oh yeah, I use a diamond brush. And I was like, you colored it using a diamond brush? Yeah. And he never did it again. And so I just remember going, well, that diamond brush thing was a thing. So I just said, well, what if I made a diamond? So I just took a square and rotated it, right? And then made the brush, and then started to sort of work on my pressure settings between Photoshop and Lazy Nezumi Pro to find what worked with me. And then I just found that, now I can do thick and thin, and these little thin lines that I would used to throw with Copic more, like, because when I would sketch with Copics, I'd throw these little marks. Like I'd throw a little line, like you see on the mallet has these center lines that just pop off it, I would do that with Copic, or like that's in her hair. But now I can do that thick to thin with just the diamond brush, because anytime you go to when you go to the edge of the brush, it goes thicker, but to a point. And if you draw it in the center, it goes thinner. And so as I turn, so the diamond gives me, it gives me this, like that's when it clicked. I found a brush that made all that work, in one go versus tons of passes or trying to, like, look at her sword. That was that thick and thin. That's just one drawing. That's just one doop, 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 doop. That's not like I outline it and then add some thick and get it to go here and there, You gotta be careful.
I'm jealous, man.
Sometimes when you go too fast, it can get diamondy. That's what I would call it. Like I have found, like on Spawn, I know where, I won't say where, but there's parts of the book where I was like, okay, it's a little too diamond brush. Like I need to bring circles and curves back into my work, So, there is a balance. You have to maybe move a little slower, consciously curve something out. But I can do thick, thin shadow drop spots with that and not even think about it. And I draw like really at a 70% opacity and a 70% flow when I'm doing this. So it's like working with a dry brush in some ways. It's not at 100% opacity,
Okay.
And then what I do in Photoshop is I just use adjustment layers to turn those semi-transparent lines into solid lines.
Oh,
and if I want ink texture, I ink on top of the threshold or underneath to create, I add the ink texture on top if I want, like a textured line or something. So I learned a lot on that Spawn book, dude. A lot.
Yeah, I would imagine, man.
That I never would have arrived at certain things had I not, So then I was like, oh, now I could speed up, but I ended up putting more work into it, so I have to be careful of that too. you save yourself some time, but then you put that time back in somewhere, and you're like, can I just get more work done and not put more work into it? Like
every time you're like, I came up with a time saver. 2 weeks later, you're like, and then I added 5 things on top of that, and it's not really a time saver anymore.
I do think though, if I continue Spawn, if we were able to do that, then that first book will be like, here's what, here's the hardest way to do everything I wanted to do, and here's how I evened it out. I'm not going to go with 2, 3, and 4 if we do those. I'm not going to go crazier and crazier. I will find the right balance,
Okay.
So, here, you don't see me spend like that piece I did for you, is one thing with no background. It has all the stuff, but here I'm able to do the whole thing with less effort. When you really think about it, like less effort is going into this piece than I put into your piece, I am getting multiple figures, and I'm going to get a full background out of it though too, So I have to sort of, with the way I learn, I have to basically do it the hardest way possible and then figure out how to pare down. The subtractive method, one would say.
I kind of work your way backwards. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Did I answer your question, or was that what you're asking?
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely, man.
So now I can't give you a Daniel Warren Johnson book, but I feel I can give you a Carlos Maglia, Jeff Matsuda book. And I don't think that's bad territory to be in. Look, there's my head.
I was gonna say, I don't know if I would say that you've ever even tried to do a Daniel Warren Johnson
I couldn't do that. I couldn't. I already know.
I don't know. That just seems like a different thing, and it's nothing. I love Daniel Warren Johnson.
Dial and everything he has, man. I got all the power bomb and power moves or whatever it is. I got
do a power
the Thor
bomb.
book. Yeah, the Thor book's the first Marvel book I bought in God knows how long, since maybe Ultimates 3. So, no, man, I love the dude's work, dude. And I think he's a super talented guy. But like, I do know, like, it was evident to me, that he was the artist of our generation several years ago.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I remember seeing his stuff on Extremity and being like, I think there's something kind of because I read Ghost Fleet, and I've been on board with him since like the very, very beginning, just by happenstance. And like, man, that guy is just I don't know how he keeps pushing, dude. It's so crazy, dude. I can't wait. I got I haven't bought a comic book in like a floppy in like 6 months, and I actually got a copy of the
since Spawn Kills, Batman. Right? Because you have all one.
I there's a video of me going and buying that of Spawn Kills at the LCS. I loved that series.
Made
No,
you do
dude.
that.
And seriously, like, if anybody hasn't checked out Spawn Kills Every Spawn, I don't know what the fuck you're doing with your life.
It's fine, you know. It's fine.
No,
But
it's not. I don't even like Spawn. I will openly say that. I haven't bought a Spawn book for 25
You don't have
years
to
out of
buy.
sheer principle. I love that book.
It needs to find its own audience. It can't be shilling. So no, Daniel's great, but
You're not, I am.
I do think though, when people see a talent like that emerge, the immediate thing is to then pivot, right? And
Well,
I
and they
think
try to, like, you know, like they just try to, like, oh, okay, well, he's using a brush pen, because I saw the same thing happen with Scotty Young. Like, everybody saw that and they're like, oh, well, the answer is you just draw with
and Sean Gordon. I mean, Sean Gordon Murphy was technical pens for the longest time. I mean, I was following his work in 2004, 2003. You know, it was all tech pens. So this is all brushes come back. You know, and I get it. I just can't. I can't do it. So you got to pick and choose what you can do. You know, my buddy Brett Bean, man, that guy kills it with the little Kuretake brush pen and stuff, you know.
What a beast, man.
Yeah, but I can't do that, you know. So I do things that he looks at and goes, I don't I don't want to do that either, you know. So, you know, everyone has their thing, you know? But to get back to drawing in Photoshop,
sorry.
I was never confident in my Photoshop lines, like finished lines, even when I was at Crash and never, even on the covers, it was always a pain to get that thick and thin, or to get it to where it felt like it was a pain in the ass, dude. Just put it that way. And so I'm trying to, did I do the diamond brush? Let me see. I'm going to look something up. Go ahead and talk while I do this really quick. I want to just check the timeline.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I love that brush pen look. I can't do it at all. Like, my hands, I got hand trimmers. So it's like, if I try to get out the brush pen, woo! You guys want to see a Jackson Pollock painting? I could do that. They do that with a brush pen. That's about as close as I get. I was watching Daniel Warren Johnson talk about, like, his tech pen setup at one point, because I was really curious about it, because he does use tech pens. Yeah. And it's like, he won't draw with anything smaller than a 0.5. And I was like, yep, I'm out. There's no way that I can ever do anything even approximating that, because I cannot. Like, a 0.5, are you kidding? That's your thin line? As I sit here with my 0.03 micron.
Yeah, my thin line mostly is a 0.5 now. But my thin line is mostly a 0.5. And the majority when I do traditional inks is with the Sharpie pen, which I think averages out to a 0.3.
Yeah.
But
that's
the
what I was gonna say. Yeah.
The Sharpie pens, the nib is more sturdy, so you can be a little rougher with it.
Way sturdier, dude.
Yeah, you can be way rougher with it, and so you can get a thinner line out of it than you can with the Copic nib, and not worry about busting the tip or anything.
Yeah, the only I do have to say too, for anybody who's wondering, and like if anybody else struggles with like
line weights and that kind of thing, like, if you have a problem, like, most people are stuck on like the Pigma microns, but like I can't really necessarily espouse using. What's up?
No, finish what you're saying.
I was gonna say, I can't really espouse using like the Copic multi-liners for everything, but their 0.5s and 0.8s have like this beautiful, like, buttery but hard enough tip that I can really work with them. So if you're struggling, I do recommend throwing a couple of bucks at like a 0.5 and a 0.8 Pigma micron liner. They are just,
I still use them. I have them, and I definitely
it's a
use
world
them.
of difference,
especially on faces and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And like outlines and faces, those are the big two. Because if I need uniformity, so
I looked it up. It was the Power Ranger piece I came up with the diamond brush.
Okay,
that's when I figured that out,
and
I knew it because I had the Spawn gig. and I was trying to solve this ink line before I was on the hook for drawing a whole book. Because I knew because I did my concept pieces for for Spawn Kills with my round brush, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to ink the whole book by doing round brush and then doing my ink brushes, which I did like on the Turtles covers and stuff. Like I did that Turtles cover for Megavisions. You know, where they're all up in the air with the pizza flying.
Man.
It came
I
out
know
great,
exactly
but it's a pain in the ass to get there. And so I was like, I got to solve this. And so I did those with that. And then because I mean, I'm looking at those lines now and that virtually looks like what I'm drawing now, you know? So that's where it started.
Interesting.
So again, using commissions, right, to get paid to experiment.
Yeah. That's another big thing that you've always like kind of tried to drill home with me, you know, is like using like commissions. You want to be like, and I really love how much, you know, Rob, he has an inordinate amount of respect. He was talking about the dude earlier, you know, like he just didn't like the commission. I'll redo it. You know, it's like Rob, he has a lot of love for the people that get his art, but he also isn't afraid and is intelligent enough to use those commission experiences as a learning experience and to build and to try new things and to push outside of your boundaries and do things that you wouldn't necessarily do, you know, if you're on a, you know, whatever, a book or doing like a cover.
And if it's not working, I'll delete it and just do the tried and true and give them the thing, you know, like that's the trade-off. But yeah, I can't get, you know, a publisher wants you to execute 100% every time what they expect, you know, and you can experiment to an extent. However, I don't feel comfortable with experimenting too much. I like them to know what they're going to get and I made it and we move on. But with commissions, I just feel like, well, everything's a unique piece and you're going to, you know, certainly get something that's awesome. And I think getting a little bit of the unexpected is, for the most part, most people react positively to that.
Yeah.
You know,
I would say that it has been one of the biggest and most important lessons that you have imparted on me is to really don't be careless or callous with the way that you treat them, but be free and, you know, realize that the people that are supporting you and getting your commissions and that kind of stuff, like, they're supporting you and they like your art. So make it your art and really try your stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like trot out the new stuff, because a lot of people will be very supportive and very receptive to that too.
now I'm gonna say this, man, like the mallet where you do like the little mallet, I don't know what you call that, the ends, the tan pieces of a mallet, you know, what is that, the pillow pieces?
Oh yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about.
I've done this before. I've done some Harleys with this, like all in color pencil, but like I'm always like, is it brown or is it gray or is it blue or what the fuck? Like I can never decide, you know, like what those pillowy mallet pieces are supposed to really be. And I'm always like, see here I'm throwing in like gray color pencil, but I'm always like, is a gray color pencil worth the trouble? Like, like, because gray color pencil doesn't always come out the way you might think it would.
No.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I don't know. Like you see, like, I'm like, maybe it needs pink. I'm gonna go, maybe it needs some pink or blue. I don't fucking know. Like it needs this pillow like thing that I can't. That's the impressionist mind in me where I'm like, I see like 5 colors and I'm like, I need to. And you can't just do 1 or 2 on a pillowy thing, like a feather. A feather isn't white. You know?
No, yeah.
Like a dog who has white hair doesn't have white hair.
No. Yeah.
You don't just leave it white, so.
But it's not a beige dog either.
You know what I mean? Which is like, I think a big tendency, because I used to do that so bad before I started looking at your color, man.
You could do reflected light, you know, but then that'll make it green because I already knew I was going to do this green and pink background. I'm like, that's not going to work. So I needed to be independent of the light source here, you know. So I'm like, maybe some blue. Like, I don't fucking know. You know, just to pop it forward because there's no because the cool will pop it in front of those other warmer colors, you know.
Yeah, so like you have your color sensibilities are pretty incredible. Your ability to shift from like and integrate cool and warm colors into the same pieces. Is there like anything that you would recommend people like check out? Is there any like resources or places that you saw or people that you saw that really kind of like opened your eyes up and like changed stuff for you? Or was it just more experimentation and like, you know, your own work and like this works and doesn't work?
I would say if you want to learn from someone who basically just found a way to articulate what I had sort of discovered on my own, and I wish I had learned it younger like he did, is Nathan Fowkes, Fawkes, and he's got some great schoolism stuff like on light, and he's been a painter for years in animation. I mean, he painted the backgrounds to like Prince of Egypt and Road El Dorado. He's done digital, and he does traditional. He does everything. He's a brilliant illustrator. But I would say like the way he thinks about color is just how I instinctively think about color. Like I do, and he'll go further into light, and so light is not something I introduce into character commissions. If I was working more in watercolor, I might, but I treat these closer to what Struzan is doing in terms of like he's not introducing light into the figure. They're unified from a value standpoint, or you know, but he is doing, because it's a piece of commercial art. They do have to have, you know, colors that the Hellboy is red. He can't, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Batman is gray and black. Like whatever. There are like, if you look at even Struzan's Land Before Time and Fievel posters, you know, Fievel is not being affected by the light source, you know.
Really?
And the Land Before Time dinosaurs aren't either, you know. But they're unified. His cartoon work on those like those Disney and like the DuckTales is just brilliant. I think his cartooning ability was the most underrated. He's so
definitely the most overlooked. Yeah.
In the same way that Frazetta, like if you ever get his cartoon book, like when he did like the little cartoon sillies with the ducks and stuff, and some of the best ever, right?
Yeah,
some of the best ever. And that had to be like, I mean, Walt Kelly, right, from Pogo had to have seen that stuff, right? Because it's very before Pogo.
Had to have.
Yeah. So I do wonder. But yeah, I'd say somewhere between Struzan and Nathan Fowkes, actually. And then fucking Chiodo, you know. Go watch our videos, folks, on us covering Joe Chiodo's color guides, and you'll see.
Yeah, that ain't no joke.
Yeah.
God, that man was a master.
Still is. I mean, does he still color, and like what is he doing?
I think he mostly paints at this point. I don't think he really does like, you know, colorist work anymore.
It's a shame.
Yeah, well, you know.
No, I mean, if he did it all hand and wasn't doing it digital, you know.
Yeah, you know, it's like I'm happy for him, but I'm sad for us. You know what I mean? It's like, way to go, Joe. Get the fuck away from that stuff and do your own thing and make your money.
Yeah, it's still though, man. I would love to see like when he painted the Bruce Timm stuff, you know. Like, I'd love to see like those kinds of collaborate in the way that when Alex Ross colored that Jim Lee stuff for the Wizard cover, and it looked like Jim Lee's drawings, but with Alex Ross's. He also did the Savage Dragon for issue 100, which is brilliant. You know? He maintained the style of Larson, but then rendered it in 3D. So you can see here, I'm putting the pink into those brown shades that I did. You know, so the pink does give you something like a bounce, but it's just, I'm like, okay, so the pink is working better. The blue wasn't quite working. The pink is working better. But I had to add some more shade into those with the marker just to pop some of those shapes out. And look, those brush pens can give you some good, you know, impressionistic marks. And folks, if you haven't seen, I've done whole pieces in Copic markers. I just want to enjoy it. So very stressful.
And they don't do your style the justice.
No, and I just found it stressful. You know, when I tell you, hey, coloring's easy, it wasn't when I'm doing all Copics. It's too stressful. I don't know how to describe it other than that.
I was getting ready to ask, like, what, like, can you explain why? But no,
it's stressful. I'm not having fun, whatever that is. I have fun with color
Okay,
pencil and
fair enough.
watercolor. Color pencil, watercolor, and surprisingly Posca pens. I have done like just all sketches in Poscas. Those are fun for like as a gimmick at I've done them at like comic shops as a gimmick. Right? Oh, I can do this really quick, and people get a kick out of it. But I'm not particularly.
I am not particular.
You don't see me offer that. It's just like, hey, I got 5 minutes. Oh, I'll do something right now. Like, because there's always that person who came in late and wants something,
Oh
And-
yeah,
And so it's always good to have a way to give them something.
Yeah, that was really interesting seeing you like try to figure out how to,
kind of retain your style, but also come up with something that was like time wise, logistic for doing appearances and stuff. I saw so much change in your art, and you integrated so much new stuff.
Well, it was my
just-
mistake. I figured I got brought the pink back into my lines, because when I was at this comic shop out in Justice Comics out in Arizona, I just forgot pens. So like I had some red pencils and I had some ballpoint pink pens, and I'm like, well, I could sketch in the red and then build up, and I'm just thinking like how I could layer it. And then what it was is I didn't have any blacks, but I had the color the indigo, right? My color pencils. So I just started sketching. Once I had those pinks down, I put the indigo on top, and it all looked really nice. Even John was there, John Lehman. He was like, that's looking really good. I'm like, yeah, I'm making this up, man. These people are paying top dollar too. And so I was like, oh man, I'm supposed to bring my A game, and I forgot my fucking A game supply. I don't know how I did that. And I pre-packed everything like I always do. It just, so you almost overplan sometimes. So, however, they turned out really well, I thought, and everyone seemed happy. And so I was like, okay, how can I, since this was a goof, how can I consistently do this, here? And then, how can I just consistently produce this? So, yeah, it turns out, man, like anything else, when you step out of your comfort zone, you can pull things, create things that you didn't intend to. And I think that's it is important to do that. As much as I say, hey, get good at something and get good at it, leave yourself room to, cut your supplies by half. Work with something you can't do. You never know, you might discover, I mean, had I never used the brush pens, then maybe I don't know, maybe I could, I know I can't do what I could do something interesting, but it you don't go, oh, Rob, when you see it, you go, oh, that's nice.
Yeah, one of the most important pieces of advice that you ever gave me was like, if you're comfortable with a 005, start using a 01. Go up.
Yeah, just go up one more.
Work bigger. Push yourself. And like, over time, I spent about a year and a half really experimenting with that. And I've gone down, I can go back and use my 003s and 005 and stuff. But like, I really use them differently now. Like I just
it's the squint
look
test.
at them different.
It's the squint test. And as much as I put little details and stuff in my stuff, if you squint, you can still see it. Like if you look at this now from a distance and you squint, what I'm putting in it's smooth, but it doesn't disappear. And so you got to be careful when you're working too fine. And I'll give you an example of this, right? I think modern Travis Charest works too fine. I think if you go back to the Travis Charest that did that Captain America piece with the diamond feet, or the Wolverine X-Men, or the first couple issues of like Wildcats, it still holds up. But now it's so realistic, or it's all these little things that it's indecipherable. So the average person can't see it anyway. You have to remind yourself, like, the average person just can't see what you're putting in. And if they can't see it, then they don't know what they're getting. And so you're almost just wasting your time. So that doesn't necessarily mean everything needs to be chunky or blocky, and you can't put, awesome little things in your work that appease you, but pick one thing to do on there that has that, and let everything else be,
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the biggest strengths that I always saw when Richard Friend would go and do inks over guys like Charest, was he really knew how to accentuate that stuff. As much as I,
Yeah,
love
and I think
Charest's inking himself.
Richard's work over Travis's work is brilliant. I think Travis's stuff now is too. It's so he's even talked. He goes digital. It's like, I go in there and I get all this perfectness. I watch him on the Mike Miller podcast talking about it, and I'm like, you should stop doing that.
You should stop doing
that. No one cares, man. Like, this is not, not getting nothing out of this, So, and sometimes you can go too chunky. You can go too, I mean, if you look at John Byrne inking himself now, it's not good.
Ugh.
Right. His pencils are still there, though. I'll give him that, no doubt. But he needs a finisher.
Man, I really, really, really hope Elsewin is good. I have not seen any of the samples from that stuff for the inks.
I don't know, man. I know, like, what was it? Barry Windsor Smith was showing off that Thing piece that he had submitted to Marvel back in the 80s that they don't want anything to do. And people were like, whoever published Byrne stuff should publish that too.
Yeah, Abrams. Yeah. It's don't get me started on Barry, but yes, I agree with you. I was getting ready to be.
It's good work. I saw the page. Like, that looks good. Doesn't look like what you would expect from Barry.
I know that was not what I was getting into. No, I just get salty when I talk about Barry. He just
see now look understand. If you look at Harley's hair now, you can't see that crappy marker edge, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it just looks kind of pillowy with the scribble lines.
That's a good description, as pillowy.
Yeah.
Like dreamy and pillowy. Yep.
Yeah, pillowy is what I want. I don't want ramen noodles. I love ramen, just I don't want it in the art.
I was gonna say, you're making me hungry. Damn.
I'm getting thirsty. Let me see where I'm at. Can I even tell? I don't know if I can tell where I'm at. Let's see what time we're at. I don't know. Obviously, I got a little bit of effort here. I'm gonna grab something to drink, dude. You want to talk while I'm gone, or I'm gonna take like 5 minutes? I'm gonna keep the video going.
Sure. I will sit and
I will grab some water.
I was gonna say I'm just gonna sit and talk about the most inappropriate stuff. I'm going to say free ball.
Thanks, Uncle Jerk. I always appreciate the level of trust that we have there.
Never leave me alone on your channel, folks. I'll just go ape shit. But no, Rob is like one of those guys that, I don't draw like Rob, and I never will. But he does so much experimentation. And he's so knowledgeable about so many different. He's introduced me, like, everybody says that, like, I'm kind of like a walking comic encyclopedia, and I always just laugh at people who say that to me, because, like, if you guys had any clue, how many of my friends like Rob, and Rob in particular, especially, like Carlos Maglia, has really changed the game for me. And like, I had seen his stuff before, but I didn't know who he was. And like, if you really want to expand your work and you want to get better, you got to get into different artists, and you have to look at stuff that is kind of outside of your wheelhouse, because there's really interesting things that you will take away from that art. And that's like, sometimes it's conscious, sometimes I see something where I'm like, oh my God, that line, the way that he handles lines, or the way that he handles lighting or color or whatever it is, or the way that she does this. It's like, I know that I'm going to integrate that, but a lot of times it's a subconscious thing. And it's just about like exposing yourself to that knowledge and those different artists. And I know people are always looking for tips on, like, how do I get better at art? How do I learn how to do that?
look at more art. Talk to your friends who are artists. Like, get outside of your wheelhouse and look at stuff even that you don't like. Because like Rob has showed me some guys where I'm kind of like, meh, not my bag. And 6 months, 8 months, a year down the line, I find myself thinking back on like, oh, I really liked the way that he handled those lines, or I love the way that they did backgrounds and they integrated figures, and you know, in a really unique way. Because Rob is really into like animation guys, and that is a big weak point for me, man. I got so disillusioned with animation that there's a lot of guys I missed. And thank God for Rob just like shoving those guys in my face and making me look at their art, you know? Like, be uncomfortable, be unhappy sometimes looking at art, because you never know what you are going to take away from that. And I like sit here like, you know, trying to sound like I've learned about art. I don't suck at art or anything anymore. I think I'm terrible at art. But like, if I have learned anything, it is because of guys like Rob really exposing me to stuff that's just so diametrically opposed to what I am like drawn to naturally, which is basically like as many lines on a page as you can put down. And that's what I grew up on. Splat and Keith and guys like that, and you know, Rob exposing me to guys that I don't even know if I would go and buy their books, but like looking at them with Rob and talking to your friends that are into those artists and then explaining what they like and what they've learned from those artists. Holy crap. Man, you will come away with some stuff that you would just never believe. And there's no way of seeing it coming other than being exposed to it.
Yeah, I've enjoyed. I think when we look at artists like on the shout out, you know, I had a friend go, "Oh man, it's like you're doing the cartoonist kayfabe thing." I'm like, "Not really." You know, I think this
What
is
the hell? No.
no,
What?
I don't think at all, because I think there was a historian like aspect to what they did. You know, and I'm more focused, and I know you do a lot of historian style stuff on your own channel, but I feel like with what we do, I feel it's more like we get to walk into, it's like when we walk into Artist Alley or we walk into a gallery show and we get to just be fans.
Yes. That's what I was getting ready to
Yeah.
say, is like, they obviously kayfabe were fans, but like they were about art and critiquing and
Its place
talking.
in the industry, its place in history, its relevance to today or to forever. There's a historical aspect of it, and I do think there was a level of black and whiteness to good or bad, you know.
Absolutely.
Whereas I think with myself, I don't really think that way. I mean, if you ever, I mean, there's good and evil in the world, no doubt. I believe in that. But when it comes to art, I feel like art just speaks to people. It's like music; it just speaks to people in so many different ways. And so, if I were to cover music, which I never would, because you know that would invite trouble. Everyone has an opinion. But if I were, I would want to. It would have to be like going to a record shop and discovering and putting things in and checking them out versus, you know.
Dude, that's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
You have really given me like, when I grew up, we had the like, you know, the listening stands, because you had to go to the music store and you went in and you had the cassette tapes and the records and you put them on and you checked them out before you bought them and stuff. And like, you are the guy that has drugged me into the booth and you're like, listen to this, dude. And sometimes I'm like, this is absolute shit, Rob. And like 6 months later, well, no, but it's funny because like 6 months later, I'm like, it's still absolute shit. But that bass in that song is fucking killer. And I took something away from that. And it's like lines or integration of the characters or backgrounds or the way that people handle colors or prepare for colors and stuff.
Yeah, and I think of like, because I'm a huge fan of Cartoons Kayfabe's channel, even though I would be like, man, I would have argued with Ed and Jim in our class to no end. But you know, it would have been a fun argument. It wouldn't have been,
exactly. I would have lovingly argued with them.
But like, I always felt like there was this like also like nostalgia. Like we're gonna look back at those things when we're getting out. But that's not really my goal. You know, it's like I'm gonna definitely bring up things that I think should get its fair shake, like the Chiodo color guides, for example, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not doing it as its place in history, and I'm not doing it to give a historical and I'm certainly not doing it to be like, you know, I think everything should be colored traditionally. However, you know, I do think the thing I took away from it is, at the time I was really into the advent of computer coloring and everything, looking at, you know, a lot of the, when the color guides were given time, they held up in a way that a lot of those computer colors don't, you know. And the separators, because remember the colorist was doing the guide like Chido, and then a team of guys working overnight use those as a guide to then recreate whatever digitally.
Mm-hmm.
And those people were not at the same level of skill generally as Chiodo or Steve Olaf, or, you know, some were, but a lot weren't.
No, and
so
Steve
things
and
get
Joe were instrumental.
Things get left out, and as we would find out with some of those pages, I feel in the same way that when Vince Colletta inked Kirby, things were getting deleted or left out.
Oh my god!
Right?
Vincey
And that's where I was
Princey.
like, is technically the rendering in some of the glows better digitally even now? Yes. However, look at all this other stuff you're missing. And I'd like to say that even in the 90s, although I felt that, you know, the colors that you would see in Valiant comics were not as maybe popular mainstream, I could tell they were hand done. And there was a weight to those colors that I actually liked, you know? And I thought it was interesting during things like Deathmate, when every now and then you get a promo piece of like Jim Lee's art, but Leighton or whatever the cast.
But was colored that way.
And it looked totally different, right?
Just absolutely, totally diametrically opposed, man. So crazy. And like, I would shit all over a lot of those guys. And like, you have really drugged me back and made me look at like Valiant books entirely differently. No doubt.
Yeah. And so, not that I was like this big, you know, at the time prophet, but I would, when I would sit in my room alone, when I wasn't hanging out with my friends, right? My art buddies, when I would look at it, I'm like, there's something really adult going on. That's, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a control.
Yes.
And I didn't, and as I got older, I would see that kind of pop back up when you would see like Bernie Wrightson color a piece of his or something, like the Thing Hulk or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you see Charles Vest color his own stuff. I see that kind of mindset in what Valiant would do, you know? There was a more controlled effect. It wasn't poppy and flashy, but I do think, you know, there's a lot of value in that. And if you're not into Valiant, I would also say go look at the first few years of Chaos Comics.
God damn.
You know, those are all marker books, and the Evil Ernie covers look way better than all, you know. Look at what they're doing now. I mean, the stuff they're doing now is very flashy, very poppy. I got friends that work on those books, but I'm like, you're never gonna get the Stephen Hughes look doing that, you know?
Nope. And see, it was like, even when I was a kid, you know, I really did not like the Valiant coloring.
But when I looked at stuff like Evil Ernie, there was something about it, Rob, where I was like,
I met that guy who did a lot of those colors. It was this young kid, dude. He just sat there with all these markers, and I was just like, I fucking love this. You know? Till my dad found out how much those markers cost, and he was like, nope.
He was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, Rob, you'll never get those."
It was at Good Guys Bad Guys comic shop in '93 was when they first launched the full run of books. They were all there. Chiodo, not Chiodo, Brian Pulido,
Polito,
Francesca, you know, his girlfriend at the time. I don't even think they were married yet. Um,
Wow. God, it's been a while.
the big guy, was it Marlowe? He was an ex-Marine. He drew like Power Pack, I think it was, or Power or something. But he was a big Samoan looking dude. He was huge. The colorist was there. Steven wasn't there, but Steven would be at Comic-Con every year, outside of Comic-Con near the steps over by the West End of Comic-Con, always standing out there, and I would always hit him up. He'd always be out there sketching, dude.
Hughes?
Just looking like Stephen Hughes with those glasses and the whole bit, you know?
That's one of my big regrets is not ever getting to like meet and hang out with him.
Super cool guy. Every year I'd show him something that I just did, you know? And he'd be like, you're getting better, man. This looks great. And I was just like, he was just something to, you know. He was the only person I ever showed art to, did you know?
No, I didn't know that.
I never took my portfolio. I never showed art because I knew I wasn't, but I felt like, I'm not saying that I could do what but his art felt like something you could accomplish. You know what I mean?
It was
like,
approachable. It was approachable.
It's solid cartooning too, man.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
No, there's a reason why those designs are so. I mean, like Smiley is like still one of the best fucking things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
If I had $1 for every time I drew that character,
his Lady Death had like a Anna Nicole Smith face with a stronger jawline that they would never do now. I felt once J. Scott Campbell did those like Lady Death drawings, it erased Steven's version. You know what I mean?
Did. Yeah, I think there was like a big movement to kind of get rid of Stephen Hughes' influence after he was gone, and I've never
agreed with it. You
know, well, I don't understand it either. Like, it was the thing that really set Lady Death apart from, you know, she and the plethora of other female
he liked thicker women. I'm not gonna say a stereotype, but let's just say Stephen Hughes liked thicker women.
Well, dude, yeah, I mean, he was like, and Sam Keith was another one of those guys.
100%.
Like, he liked real women. You know what I mean? Like, they have curves. I'm not, and that's not me. Please do not take that as me like body shaming or telling anybody how you should look. Everybody is fucking beautiful.
No, but I've gotten notes, man. One of the reasons I make no bones about it. I stopped working on Big Dog ink covers was because I was drawing the girls thicker, and Tom told me, that the guy who owns the whole thing, that his audience doesn't like that. And I'm like, have you seen your audience? Have you seen who's buying your books? Have you seen the cosplayers? You know what I mean? Man, there's some nice. What are you talking to? If you believe that so much, let's go tell them.
Yeah, let's go outside and have a conversation about that one.
They just all like, I love J. Scott Campbell's work, dude. We've covered him many times. You know, it's some of the highest viewed stuff we have on this channel. But I don't think every book should be drawn by him or designed by him. And unfortunately, when it comes to the Zenoscope, you know, Chaos Comic style pinup girl books, it's been overrun with that look. You know?
Yeah. I think that was the one thing about Stephen Hughes. And now that you say it, I think that was the like biggest thing, aside from like the way that he structured lines was really interesting. Like, he could be very fluid, but also very scratchy at the same time. And
he could jump between Adam Hughes and like Rob Schrab. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't know how you do that. Like, I don't get it.
He's just a damn good cartoonist, man. I'd say out of the 90s, I think he's the most underrated.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. Same here. I've spent 4 years researching a piece on Stephen Hughes, and it's heartbreaking to me how little information is out there about him, and how little respect he honestly gets in the industry. And like, I will admit that as a guy who is, and I get a lot of shit about it, but I'm not afraid to speak my mind. You know, I'm not a J. Scott Campbell fan. He's done some stuff that I do enjoy, but I'm not a fan. And I think
you seem pretty fan like when we're going over that art book, man.
go back and listen to it.
I don't know.
I respect and I respect a lot of what he's a very capable artist to a certain time period. He was very capable. He's gotten repetitive and regurgitative at this point, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, I just think, he has a very flashy way of drawing. It's very well done. However, much like Adam Hughes, it's just people they do it too much, and it's like
I never got too much Hughes.
And what I don't understand with Chaos Comics is it's like that whole company existed because of him. I'm sorry, like Brian Pulido, like he's a super cool dude, man, but like his writing's not exactly what I would, it's not like you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Like even at the time when Kirkman was doing Battle Pope, it wasn't even really at that level, Like it wasn't at Battle Pope level. So it's like, let's be honest, So it was fun. It's fun in a fun rock album kind of way,
That's exactly what it was, man.
Right.
That's exactly what it was. His album cover comics.
I always thought he probably should have been directing Corman films, honestly.
He would be really at home there.
Yeah.
And Brian is a super nice guy. I've talked to him over the last few years, not as much as I would like to, unfortunately, because he's very sensitive about Hughes because they were close friends, and I think it's very difficult for him to talk about Hughes. But he's a really approachable and pretty level-headed and down-to-earth guy. I actually have a lot of respect for him.
But in the way that Aspen Comics doesn't exist without Michael Turner. Chaos doesn't exist without Stephen Hughes, and I just think
Hughes. Yeah, absolutely.
I really just think that they should always be putting that forward. I do, and maybe that's not good for their business, because they owe people money, but I don't really care.
I don't believe that. I think it's just a tonal shift, and that's kind of what I was getting at with J. Scott Campbell, which is like what I was going to say is that as much as I'm not a fan, I think that a large part of that is me being judgmental or resentful against him, which is not actually against him, with other people like integrating and emulating. Because he created a sameness.
But he didn't. Look, there's nothing samey about him at Wildstorm.
No, that's what I'm saying.
The standout
it's
at Wildstorm,
not me, right? Like, it's me, not him. It's that. It's classic.
That just when he goes to full cover work, everyone wanted that gig, right? Like Adam Hughes was doing it, he's doing it. Yeah. In the industry, like anything else, the industry just overkills.
They overproduce and they over absolutely.
But I do think if there's anything I could be critical with Scott Campbell's modern work compared to maybe what he did before, is the kind of fun he put into Gen 13, right?
Oh yeah,
is not evident in a lot of the pinup stuff now.
No.
And so I would, if I could say anything, I'd be like, maybe put some more of that fun stuff in there,
It's stiff.
It's like the Scotty Young does that with his stuff. He's still like when Scotty does like the Turtles variant covers or playing video games and doing something fun. He would do that in Gen 13, and he's not doing that anymore.
He doesn't seem like he has a lot of fun. Like he's quit doing like sketches and commissions, and I don't think that that's all monetarily.
I don't know, man. He throws these giant Halloween parties. It seems to be having a pretty good life, dude. So I don't think that's it.
No, I mean art wise, not his personal.
Well,
life.
I just think more of that takes more effort. You have to concept and think about it more, and I think he just draws now.
Well, yeah, and he gets paid better. Same thing that happened to Scotty Young. Everybody started paying him to do the fucking chibi baby thing, and I'm like, God, I would give
You're just
more
jealous.
of my I would give more of my fingers to see Scotty do like anything approaching like back what he was doing, on those like cable Deadpool covers. I just remember watching that, like the evolution on those covers and being like, a monster is coming in the best way. And
everyone has their favorite era of an artist. I get people today who want me to do saucy renderings, and I won't do it. So I understand.
Yeah, well, dude, and it's you get back to the same cyclical argument, and it's really insulting. Like, like whenever somebody, God knows, I'm a comic fan. Okay, like Art Adams, 1988 to 92. Like,
Oh, especially that X-Men poster that he colored,
oh,
the Wolverine. Yeah, it's my favorite piece. And
God,
the and the
dude.
new Fantastic Four. Right?
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
dude. And then it's like you get to 2020.
The heavy
and
inks, I'm not into.
I just can't. But I would never
I
go
call it
to
the Brian
him and be
Bolin
like,
inks. I call it the Brian Bolin inks because
yeah, but he does them like traditionally.
No,
Like Brian does that all
digital.
digitally,
Yeah.
like, which is so weird. It was such the opposite. I don't know. Yeah, but my point is like I would never go to Art Adams and be like, hey man, could you draw me like 1989 long shot instead of a 2025 long
Yeah,
shot?
I hate the shit you're doing now.
like your stuff just doesn't float my boat anymore. Could you travel back 23 years in time and lose all that experience? It's like
that's the most South Park like voice you've ever done on the show.
Okay, it's all right, Rob. It's okay. Okay, I like it all.
Now you're trying too hard. I'm just saying, he does like the average people voice. Like that's what that kind of sounded like. No, but I get it. Like, I think for like myself, like it's just a matter of you hit like this point where you can't go further. And with the saucy stuff, I hit a point where I'm like, if it's not a Hulk, or some big thing with a big splotch of I can't go further. I can't. This is not controllable. It doesn't work. So.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
With what I'm doing here, I feel like I could do anything. Now, that doesn't mean I wouldn't work in. I could see, and I have done tests where I drew like maybe half the figure, and the other half is kind of loose, and I just painted it, and I've tried that, and I haven't quite got it to work yet, but I could see myself doing that.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Where like half of it's lines and half of it is like it kind of tapered
I
off.
just don't want to sound reductive, man, because like
no, but everyone has their, but it's not, I don't think it's unfair to say, I like this era of an artist and this one didn't speak to me, if that artist has never been, is not doing well and they've been suffering ever since, maybe it's just kind of a little cruel. But Scotty's taken off with his career, like I know for myself, man, like I really like, the spider, the manga, the Spider Clan stuff, and
yeah.
The New Warriors,
Ooh,
and,
yeah. Yep.
And but I also really like just the gags he comes up with these days too.
Dude,
like
there's a brilliance in his work, dude.
Yeah, like, the gags alone are, you never got that level of thinking on Spider Clan, So.
He is the Bill Watterson of comics, and I don't say that lightly. You know what I mean? He can family circle. He can family circus a comic.
Well, those strips he did where he's at the table with his family, were quite good too.
Yeah.
So, and his the Fairyland Kills Image or whatever was quite good.
And he can still really, really pull out the stops and make stuff work. I really loved the cover he did for Mahfoud's Arachnid Enforcer. Like
everything on that project is awesome.
God, I know. I wish I could afford those books, dude.
They're like what, $60, dude, or something? Like
no, you can get like the regular A covers for I think like $15 or $20.
Oh, okay. I was looking at I must have looked at the signed ones.
They're either signed or you can get bundles where they have all of the covers. You know what I mean? Because there's 6, 7, 8 covers because he's got so many friends. And it's I wish I could afford them.
I wish you would do an Arachnid Enforcer piece for myself.
You really do, man. You would kill it.
I hear you.
Because it's like, dude, if anybody should be doing a fucking Scud book, in my opinion, it is fucking Rob Duane. It's like
I wouldn't be able to write it if Scotty wrote it or Rob wrote it. Sure.
I mean drawing that piece you did for Royce, I think is the best Scud piece I've ever seen.
Oh no, you're being too.
No. I'm not.
Nah, you're being
I
too kind.
I think it's I think it's the best Scud piece that I have ever seen. It takes everything that like Rob invented with the character, dials that shit up because I was already at a 12, and you're putting it at a 20, but it makes sense and it works aesthetically, and it's just oh my god, dude. You know, but that's my opinion. You know.
Oh, that was fun. That was done with the diamond brush too.
Yeah, I know. When you were talking about the diamond brush, that was one of the ones I was thinking of because I did a study of that. I'm sure you remember. You know, I that was one of the first pieces I ever studied.
Yeah, you're like, how'd you get these razor
study.
thin? And I'm like, diamond brush, dude.
Yep. Because I was like, how did you get these lines, dude? And even on my shitty redone version of it, you know, everybody was like, God, look at the line weights. This is brilliant. This is fucking.
Those brushes are up on my site for like $10, folks. It's the Drawbox. You know, you go to the download.
God damn it, I was going to mention that earlier.
Yeah, but I would say though too, you know, like I've had people use them and not get that, so I can't say the brush is doing the work for me. I'm just saying it's the brush that connected
with you.
With
yeah. That's the.
Because I had somebody go, I don't know, man, it's not working. I'm like, you want it here? I'm gonna load it in. Watch how I draw. And they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, it's called talent, motherfucker. Like I can rip you off, you know, like it ain't connecting with you, you know.
You gotta find what works, man.
Now this hair is getting a little muddy on Punchline, but I knew it would a little bit. So this is where I'm just figuring out where to kind of pop it, and then you'll see I use the Poscas to bring that back in, and then I'll do some color pencil over the Posca, you know, to kind of taper some edges, and then put it back in. So
nice.
So
I am going to go grab a drink now.
Yeah.
I will be right back.
Yeah. No, I've been talking down south for 2 hours.
Yeah, I just realized I was like, why do I feel like I have cotton mouth?
Yeah, get going. I'll take over. But yeah, folks, so again, this is just popping shapes right now, you know, and with the black, and you can see I use these down to the nib. You can get these little extenders too for color pencils where you can put them in there, so you don't have to hold the nib, you know. But I am trying to make certain I still keep the blues and the pinks. I do think though, I don't know, had I done this the old way where I used to do this red shade base and then I would tint it, I think the volume on the hair would be a little easier. So it's a little raggedy right now. It does come together in the end, but I'm still trying to figure out, you know, maybe in the future I would do the hair all color pencil if I need to, but I don't know. I don't know if it ended up better. I say that, but sometimes my recollection of what my art looked like doesn't actually reflect what it actually looked like. Because I went and looked back at I did this hair on some Overwatch stuff, color pencil pieces that was all color, and it the final piece doesn't look as maybe energetic. You know, it has the volume, but then it doesn't have the energy. So and then now I'm using the indigo blue over that gray to add, you know, and I'm trying to get those sketch lines to go over the volume of the shape. So even though I'm adding scribbles, I am adding scribbles volumetrically. So, and then reminding myself not to be too fine with the detail, allowing the scribbles to hold up. But I do stress over because I'm putting blue into that black because it's I want the black to be different than Harley's blacks. Black, purple, blue, purple, blue, black, blue. Just back and forth. It's never just pure black, right? It's this combination of colors. And look, I mean, yeah, if I just did inks and marker, I get a lot more work done, but I don't know. I like looking at this when it's done too, you know? The amount of work I put in the mallet, but then the mallet looks freaking dope to me. So I'm like, that's a cool mallet. So, and I intentionally made the mallet's handle super thin. Like I just noticed sometimes artists draw these really thin mallet handles, which I normally don't. I make them super chunky, but I was like, hey, everyone else does super thin, so why don't I make that work? And I was trying to make them a little yin yangy too, like her blade is popping out in between Harley and her hammer is going behind, you know. They're intertwined a little bit.
You
And
talking
this part,
dirty while I'm gone, Rob? Jeez.
yeah, I know, right? But it's just like he's consistently using the same colors in just different quantities, you know. So like it's a lot of dark blue with pops of purple and blue on the black, but then when you get to the purples, it's a lot of purple with little pops of dark and blue. You just invert the quantities.
Oh, yeah. That's a big thing I picked up off of you, man. Like, pick out your colors, set them aside, and then start like juxtaposing and throwing them against each other, you know.
Yeah, and if you invert the amounts, you can, you know, keep a uniformity across a character versus this and that and this and that. Yeah, this and the too many colors.
Yep.
And now I'm just at the textural phase. So yeah, I'm working in some value and stuff, but it's mostly just getting all the texture in there.
Where did you like hit on integrate? I think a lot of people, especially our age, you know, like they grew up on like the beginning of digital color and stuff, and they really like either consciously or subconsciously rebelled against like showing that texture and that grain and stuff. It like was there anything that you ever saw where you decide, was it just like looking at those early Valiant comics and like, you know, the chaos stuff even from an early age where you enjoyed that made you want to integrate that into your stuff? Or
oh, you mean like, I see what you mean. So rather than the slickness, getting all that back in, right?
You know, like the digital blah.
Actually, it came from when I was doing magazine layouts for Game Fan. So Game Fan, I was doing this magazine. Game Fan was big in the 90s. We relaunched in 2009 for a couple years after the recession and everything. And it was this Rolling Stone sized magazine. And Game Fan initially had these big pinups. Big, like, I mean, when I say pinups, like they'd do hundreds of screens, you know, back in the day per game. And I had to fill up 10 by 12, you know, with all these screens. It was very slick. However, I wanted to integrate something called Game Fan Retro where we could cover retro games. And I thought it would be fun if you look at scans of comics and scans of magazines, you get, because it's a scan, you get the halftone dots.
Yeah.
And once I started looking at that, like scans of Spawn, scans of video game magazines, I was like, how can I get the halftone dots into the final image that prints? Because they're not going to print the halftone dots. You know? And it started there. And then I started, when I went back to t-shirts, I started doing more scribbly bits on shirts because, you know, you can do that with like solid lines. So then when it came to my own colors, eventually I just stopped trying to make everything look perfect, you know? And then just one day, I think like when Scotty said one day he just started using that, you know, brush pen. And then I just was like, do. And I wonder if there was a specific, because before I was using it to blend and it was very clean. But if I had to look, I think I could probably pinpoint. I definitely think when the Poscas came in for certain, but the scribble, you know what it was, man, was the Battletoads. I did this Battletoads sketch, and I was just like, how loose can I do the lines, and can I just finish it with color pencil? Like if I don't actually draw the thing, like if it's very loose sketch, can I tie it all together with this other stuff? And you can if you go scribbly. Like I could fill in a lot of the mistakes, basically, you know. And that's just what that sort of thing kind of took off, you know. I mean, that's like, even Scotty hit me up to buy some work at that time, you know? So I was like, all right,
didn't
there's
know
something
that.
to this, you know? But like, I would say that I would constantly run into like, limitations. Like, I can only go this far with this, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so at some point, if I need to go further, there's this step, which is harder, you know? And that's always the question, like, how much complication do I need to insert into each piece? I don't know. I don't know what that answer is yet. You know, like, I really don't.
Yeah. That's like a recurring theme in our conversations, definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. That's interesting, man. I didn't even know that.
I haven't
We
really
talked
thought about
that
it,
stuff.
you know? It's just been like a logical evolution, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, but I would say that I think it was that Battletoads piece where, and a lot of my color tests would look like this too. I just wouldn't ever show them, you know, or sell them or anything. Yeah. I didn't think anyone wanted this kind of stuff, honestly. And
Yeah.
turns out more people want this than the other stuff if you figure that out, you know. Like, that's odd, you know.
it gets back to that Rick Rubin thing, man. Like, you know, you got to create art that really resonates with you. And when you do that, it's going to hopefully resonate with your audience and find a
well, I can
find
tell
its
you
own
that
voice.
this is not something people are interested in, but I can tell you the thing that really held a lot of it back was just finding the right paper that could do everything I wanted.
I think a lot of people are interested in that, actually.
The right paper that I was like, you know, if I want to add a little watercolor, I don't have to worry about it. If I want to have this slick pencil look, I don't have to worry about it. And the fluid watercolor paper does that. If I don't introduce water and I just wanted to do marker and color pencil, then I could use my hammer mill paper. But I do like watercolor, and I do think, you know, not to tout myself, but I do think I can come up with interesting color combinations you don't normally see. You know?
Definitely.
And so being able to integrate that back in this year with this scribble stuff has been fun for me, because I've been like, oh cool, I could put this in the background, which we'll see here, you know, eventually. Although there will be a part you don't see, and that's because I thought I was recording when I was. So I'll just have to, it jumps. And I'm like, I thought I was recording. That wasn't intentional. That's just a mistake.
Hidden trade secrets, guys. He's hiding stuff.
I'll tell you what also, though, the reason why I've really been pushing this format, even if it takes a little longer to set up, is because as we went through color guides, as we've done the show, it just dawned on me, you know, I want to, at some point here, you know, hand draw and color my own comic, you know? And
God,
so
I cannot wait, man.
To be able to do that just requires me to attain a level. Will I be able to do it before I die? Like, that's the question. You know?
You better. I'd better get you to read one of those comics, Rob.
I know. Dude, my buddy Joe put up some. I guess he was in the hospital recently. He disappears when he has to go to the hospital, so because he doesn't want to bug me. And I always saw him bug me, but you know, whatever. But
That's
he drew
definitely not Joe.
He drew some little like folded paper comics, and this is this idea he's been trying to put in a comic forever. Initially, just gave it as a weapon to a character of his, but it's called the gun chucks. It's like these guns that turn into nunchucks. So he drew this guy called Gun Chuck, kind of like Duke Nukem, and the way he drew it kind of looks like Captain Underpants. Like, it's not like that, but in that same kind of vein. And so I sent him a note. I'm like, look, man, Gun Chuck is a winner, and more to the point, like, it just popped in my head. What if you did these like Captain Underpants or Dog Man or whatever that's called, but for adults, like in the same format, you know, like that kind of goofy, cartoony children's art, but for adults. Yeah. He probably won't do it, but I think he could. He'd have a winner there.
Joe can do so much stuff, man. I love seeing his different.
He's always jumping around a lot, but I love looking at his stuff.
He doesn't like to finish one idea. So I'm using the ballpoint here to put saturation back in. So the cool part about the ballpoint is they're highly pigmented. So if it's a little flat, anytime you want something in color to fall in, so I'm using the pink, I can go in there and blend and get some saturation in there. That will tie it all together.
Yeah, that ballpoint really seems like a game changer for you, man.
I'm not the only one to use it. Other artists have been using it. There's a guy named Eduardo Vieira or whatever. He's pretty good. He has like a very Scribbly style. Someone said, man, you're drawing like him. I'm like, why don't you go back 10, 15 years and see my stuff? It's always been this way. Like, I just didn't post a lot of it, you know. But I do have stuff that I'm like, no, we're thinking along the same lines, you know. But I used to use the ballpoints all the time in the Army because it's all I ever had. So I had to sketch all the time. Yeah. I sketch all the time.
Interesting. I was going to ask where that all kind of started, like the germination for it.
I just didn't have access to good art tools, but, you know, ballpoints everywhere. And those foreign ones have been around for 20 something years. So I used to, you know, I'd use them in the Army and then when I was doing security for my dad, you know. And they're waterproof, so you don't have to worry about, you know.
I am a massive ballpoint freak. I love ballpoint drawings, so.
I used to like leave like Venom drawings in training manuals. Like I just put the paper in there and just, so somewhere in the Army, there's still my drawings just sitting there. Someone's probably never opened. Yeah.
Now I got to get onto your old Army base and start pulling apart books.
It's been shut down, dude. I watched it. They just, because where Elvis was stationed in Frankfurt, Germany. It's called Ray Barracks.
Oh, gee, okay.
They finally shut it all down. Well, they shut it down like in 2007 or 9, but it was still there being falling apart and people would take tours. But they finally bulldozed the whole thing. It's a trip to see when you're like responsible for taking care of all that stuff for the Army and then they just bulldoze it. You know, you start going, what was it all for, man? I'm like, welcome to life, you know? I'm trying to push her hair back while maintaining the shape.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's coming together. Nice.
Yeah, it'll pop when you get the Posca in. You know?
The Poscas, yeah. That's what I'm really looking forward to. Because I haven't been able to watch you do the Poscas. I don't think
I've streamed that yet, right?
No, if you have, I haven't seen it.
On some of the Sketch versus Sketchcraft, I think but those are so raw, I don't think you could pull anything from it.
Yeah, it was hard for me it was always interesting to watch. I almost brought them up earlier because they're really fun and interesting to watch, but I don't know if I learned as much from them.
No, it's usually Steven and I sniping at one another for an hour. He stopped doing them because I think I pissed him off, but whatever.
Well, he was doing all those warm-up, like, I thought we were supposed to just be sketching this stuff out.
Well, I think he got mad that I was pre-sketching, but I'm like, Steven, you just draw. Like, I don't just draw like you, you know? So people are thinking this is a competition. I really just thought I would draw and he would draw and we would just chat like we're doing now, but just rant. Like when Lauren and I are on SketchBiz, I thought it'd be more like that. But because it has the word versus in there, people turn it into a fucking competition. Just, I don't know.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
I miss those. I really liked that show.
Yeah. You know what, man? I'll call someone every week for about a year before I stop. You know? And since he hasn't picked up in a year, I've stopped.
That's fair. That's fair. I just always loved him. That Max piece he did is still one of my favorite pieces.
I like Steven. Steven's a good dude.
Oh yeah, dude.
I think he's fantastic. I think he's very cool Jeff Matsuda-like in how he draws, actually.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah. And I think I told him that, but I don't think he took that as a compliment. I'm like, no, that's fucking awesome. Like, you know.
I mean that in the nicest way possible.
Yeah, the nicest way possible.
Like, come on, it's Jeff Matsuda.
Yeah. I wish, he did that Spawn cover contest. I'm like, I wish I held, I don't think I need to push your, I think, they should have given him a cover, but I don't know. I don't know how any of that stuff worked out. I told him like I wouldn't have won that contest, and I'm drawing covers right now for him. So,
Yeah, I don't think anybody really came out of that. Yeah, don't get me started on that competition. Let's not go down.
I don't need to get myself in trouble too.
I was gonna say, let's not go down that road with Uncle Jerk.
But I don't win art competitions in general anyway. So
art's not a competition. It's so fucking subjective, man. I don't understand. I've never understood that mentality, but you know.
So this right here is distress ink. It's like watercolor, it's just pre-made. You can use PH Martin's. I like distress ink. I've had some people not like it because it has this weird effect when you lay it and it starts to dry. It can create splotches and imperfections, but I like that. Because someone goes like, I'm gonna do this, and they got it, and they're like, why is the green turning peach and pink and fucking, it's like, that's what it does. So it's not for everybody. And they're highly pigmented like PH Martin. So you need to dilute.
Yeah, if you use it, definitely dilute the shit out of it. Do not try using heavily saturated stuff with it.
But I did spend 10 years just doing regular traditional watercolors. So I understand how to mix real paints, and if they didn't make distress ink, I could go back. I would buy like higher quality stuff. Like I'd probably just work with Holbein.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't like Winsor Newton watercolors.
Blech.
Yeah, I don't even the artist grade, I don't like them. So I would work exclusively in Holbein. They have that same kind of pigmentation. That's what Miyazaki uses when he does his stuff. So.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're looking to get a traditional watercolor set, just get the Studio Ghibli watercolor set. You can get it off eBay for like $100, and it will come with a bunch of cool little Ghibli bonuses and brush and stuff that he uses. And you'll get a good Holbein at a discount. So try and dig those up. They're straight from the Ghibli Museum.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm not pre-wetting the paper. I'm putting this on dry paper. If you wanted more smoother blends, you would pre-wet the paper and then apply.
And I'm a smooth guy. I like my smooths. And like I definitely fought against the distress ink when you first got me into it, but man, have I ever fallen in love with that stuff.
Once you go back to like regular water, you'll see what I mean. You lose something. It seems dull.
I was gonna say there's a lifelessness to it.
Yeah, and not in a saturation pigmented way, just in because there's color fluctuation. It shimmers in a certain way, like it's imperfect, and it just adds. I like it. I like color fluctuation. In Photoshop, when you color, you can set up color opacity jitter where it will fluctuate between a couple colors. Mm-hmm. And that's always better than just sketching with a single color. And so, and you can kind of see up at the top part, it like turning that peach kind of olivey color, so you can kind of get it on camera. But then as you layer on distress inks, you'll get different, like, how do I say this, man? You'll get different, not just opacities, but or colors, but you'll get different values and shades out of it than you would. They work very weird. They work very, very weird. Now, are they archival? That's the question I get from people. And the answer is technically no. However, technically nothing's archival, even things that say they're archival. I've been down this path with so many people, so many artists. And what I do is this. When I get done with my piece, I always do 3 sprays of Kmart paint, fixative. If I let it rest 15 to 20 minutes, and then I do 3 coats of that, and then I do 3 coats of UV archival fixative spray. It is just UV archival fixative. 30 minutes, I let it dry 30 to 40 minutes, or maybe even an hour, whatever. I just spent a whole day. I do 3 coats on top of that. And then I just tell people when I send it, do not put in direct sunlight. And if you're going to display in your office, put it behind UV coated glass. And even if you bought a piece from Drew Struzan, right? It's all acrylic ink and color pencil. Mm-hmm. I would still recommend you put it behind UV coated glass and keep it out of direct, because the sun I don't know if you've noticed the Grand Canyon, right? Like, the sun will eventually destroy everything, right? So nothing's really truly archival. Will these paints just naturally fade and warp and disappear on their own? No. I got full painted distress ink pieces in my room from over 10 years ago that are sitting out of the sunlight. They're just sitting there. They've been for 10 years. I did them like 2011, over 10 years now, 14, 15 years. And they're just as vibrant today as they were then. No fading. So it's not, when we think of archival, I think we're thinking like when you and I look at Stephen Platt's inks on Moon Knight and it's all purple and orange and shit. It's not like that. That's a whole nother problem. Or like even those P.H. Martin dyes from the 80s.
That's exactly what I was just thinking of.
But I was using P.H. Martins on some of these pieces from 11, 15 years ago, and they're still bright. You just got to keep them at the sunlight, man. Like, so a lot of people don't. Now, I know people want to display their art, so I seal it, put it behind UV coated glass, and that will at least last while I'm still alive, and then it's not my problem anymore. So that's how I think about it. Because even if something says it's 100% archival, I assure you it isn't.
It's not.
I assure you it isn't.
Yeah, but you're not gonna run into the same like Alex Toth stuff where it's like you look at his 2 weeks later, you're looking at the pencils or the inks, and you're like, why is this purple?
Or even Bisley. Some of Bisley's paintings we covered like on body count, or like, oh, what happened here? Like, it's not going to be like that. The tools and the paints and the qualities have gotten better than they were 30 years ago. So as long as you buy a studio grade quality product, from a reputable manufacturer, you're going to be pretty good. I mean, distress inks were meant to be crafts. They're going to be seen in sunlight. They're going to, they don't fade the way you would think they would. So they even say fade proof, but that's not, I don't even know. That's not true. I just tell you, you do 3 coats and they display it behind glass, you're good to go. UV coated glass. And frankly, if you're paying $300-400 for a piece of art, you should buy some UV coated glass,
I know I should.
Otherwise, fucking not my problem. At the end of the day, I need the colors to do it's in my head,
Fair enough. Yeah.
And I think that's more important than anything else.
That is a very valid point.
But this combination of the distress ink and the colored pencil, I really like.
I've fallen in love with it. I don't use it the same way that you do, but I have fallen in love with it myself. So,
and look, this right here alone, I could have just left it like this, did a little Posca and been done. Now that I look at it, like a little bit more on the right-hand corner, you know what I mean? And it would have been in the same territory that Alejandro Barbucci does his stuff. So I have to remember too, like white as a background's okay too, Rob. Like, like this looks pretty good if I could just do the Posca on top. But no, I have to remember myself, like maybe I offer something more like this. No one cares. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah. I do think looking at it now, I probably would have just done that. But because what will happen is I'm going to do this pink and it becomes too much, and then I darken the top, but I forgot to record the darkening of the top. It works. It definitely works at the end of the day. But I do think just this lime green would have been perfectly fine with the white.
Yeah, I think it looks gorgeous, but your backgrounds are something I'm always envious of. So
I don't even do backgrounds really when you think about it. I mean, like, I really don't. Like, I'm not like a landscape painter,
No, you're not, but you definitely do backgrounds compared to a lot of the comic book guys that I follow that do commission work. It's straight white. And like sometimes that works perfect and it's great. And I love a lot of those guys. And,
I did that
don't get
recently
me
because
wrong,
that was requested, but I was like, I just don't know if I like it. People seem to like it, but I was like, I don't know.
sometimes a piece calls for it.
Yeah, but look at
Makes
this now, like
sense.
right around here, you know? When I get a hair in there, sometimes a hair, like an
God, I
eyelash
hate
falls.
that.
Yeah, I know. And I'm like, I don't want people to get my grungy eyelashes. Look at that. Pick that out and shit. I need tweezers. I don't have.
It always happens to me with my cats. They insist on laying on my fucking drawings. I'm like, God damn it, there's fur inside of my drawings.
And I'm using a number 8 brush, by the way. Number 6 or 8. I can't remember which one. Whatever size you need, go one size up on brushes. That's 100%.
Yeah, that is one of the big things that I learned from you, man.
And now I'm just
'Cause I
using
was
some water
so uncomfortable.
to fade the edges. And then because it picks up some of the color, you can also splotch around and get it real faint, you know, around the edges.
Yep.
Just lifting some of that color up.
And
Sure.
dabbing.
I always love when you get out your paper towels and you'll dab and create those cool textures and fades inside of the color too.
You can also just like, once it dries, you can always put water down on top and like splats, you know, and then lift up. That's something.
That scares me, man. I've done it a couple of times.
Well,
it does work, but it scares me.
Even if it doesn't, you can just go back over. It doesn't really matter. You can't really mess it up.
Watch me, Rob. Watch me.
Yeah, now that I'm looking at this, I really wish I just kept this. Then again, the final looks dope too. Like I can't complain. I do like the way it looks, but I was like, Alejandro, man, there's a reason why that guy's a master.
Yeah. Minimalism is something that I've always
Strived for and never achieved in my stuff. So
I do think I'm gonna be doing a little bit more of that. It's pain. I think the reason why I wanted to go edge to edge was because the Savage Dragon piece. Yeah.
God, man, that was such a cool piece.
Yeah, I know, but not everything needs to be that.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No.
I think this would have looked better. Whatever. And the guy who bought this like, but I like this. I'm like, I know. I'm not saying.
I know, but I'm saying me.
Now that I look at it, maybe I should have just kept it.
So easy to noodle a piece to death.
It's funny.
That's one of my worst traits as an artist is just noodling shit to absolute death.
Well, I mean, I did a color guide for myself to see what it would look like, and I felt pretty confident in it, but because I'm going to add with white Posca and a scratchy outline around the figures anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Which I like the way that came out. So, well, this is one of the reasons why I do sit here. Here I'm doing the water. So that's water being speckled, and it doesn't matter if the water gets on the color pencil or the lines because it's all waterproof. So don't worry about that. And then I'll let it dry, and then I'll lift.
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about, where you'll like put water down and then dab on stuff and lift it up, and it just creates like these
unreplicatable textures and stuff. Super cool.
And it's just a matter of time. You can let it sit 4 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds. You'll get different levels of the splotchiness.
Yeah.
And I like that splotchiness. You know?
Well, that's the whole point of using that distress ink and stuff, you know.
Or watercolor. It works the same with watercolor, you know. You just need to make certain you have, you just don't want to use anything that's like acrylic or anything. It's waterproof. The only thing that's not waterproof is the paint, the watercolor paint, you know. Everything else is waterproof. The watercolor paint. But you can see the distress ink. If you look at the top part of Harley's, you can see it kind of go into that olive area. But it's not supposed to be that. It's just the way it has these weird chromatic like fluctuations in the paint. So sometimes you get these like light peaches, sometimes you get these grayish olives, you know. And you just have to figure out which ones work for you. I mean, there's so many of them out there. I have a set of maybe 32, you know. Maybe someday I'll do a video on it. We'll see.
Yeah, we definitely should.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
How much time does Rob have? Not enough.
And do I feel like talking about it? That's another question. Because like sometimes I just don't feel like talking about stuff.
God,
Like, yeah, you know, you can use this like this, but I don't know. I like the full projects. Here's what I'm going for. Here's how I got through to completion. I don't like demos and like swatches and stuff, you know? Like when I did the color pencil guide thing, I did that mostly because like I know if you got these colors, you can replicate it. I can't guarantee you're going to get this out of the paints, you know?
Oh, that's
like,
a very
I don't know
fair,
how-
yeah.
Right. And even though I'm not doing anything crazy here, you'll see once I start blending all this stuff together, I don't know if you're going to get the same effect, you know? So making a video out of it doesn't really, I'll spend more time trying to help people get there than I am helping, I think, you know? So I think when it comes to the distress ink and watercolor, I really just don't think I'm the best person to like teach. I can show, but I don't know if it's best to.
It's always how I've learned best from you, though. Just watching you work, hearing you talk a little bit, watching you, picking up little tricks, things to try.
Well, I forget. That's why I put this stuff on the channel. Because I'm like, like a year ago, I'm like, what did I do that time? I had to go back and look. And I'm like, oh, there it is. That's why it's there, you know? See, like, in some of these waters, I let sit for a few minutes. Now I'm lifting them up.
So is that something you just kind of like picked up from working with like watercolors and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, doing
over
the
years,
saucies.
or-
Just doing the saucies, yeah.
Right on.
So sometimes you want, you want splat, but you don't want to splat it down. Splatting white doesn't work, but you can lift, you know?
Oh, okay, yeah. That makes, yeah, okay.
So you get that splats and stuff. You get the splats, but you're not adding, you're subtracting.
Yeah, subtractive work is so hard for me, man.
I remember like when I was in college, this teacher I had for a little bit was a sculpting class, and she's like, I think you can get a sculpting, and I'm like, I don't think so, you know? And so like
I don't think so.
like, you know, because I've tried this. So you build an armature, you put things on. I remember building some models of stuff in Sculpey when I was working on my little Star Wars project in the Army, you know, for myself. And I was not good at it at all. But so she said, well, I want you to do like a figure, you know, and sculpt it out. And I'm like, I can't fucking do this. And so I'm sitting there in my house and I built this armature and shit. And I'm like, this fucking sucks. So I can't remember what I watched, but it was like something where like Michelangelo, one of those, like they would take a block of something and chisel out of it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Like I don't even know how I came across this, but I'm certain it was like I was trying to do research, like how can I fucking figure out how to do this? Because I know layering on muscles and bits wasn't working. So I had this armature and I just basically put big blocks of stuff on, you know, the armature, you know? So I had like a big block. And I just started pulling away. Once I started pulling away, it came out really well. Like I had a full like Disney-like kind of like maquette, you know, when I got done. And she's like, see, I told you you'd be good at that. I'm like, no, I didn't do it your way. Like I did this other way. And I started thinking about the subtractive method made a lot of sense, you know, like for me in that sense. So I do think about, you know, rather than building up, can I pull away, you know? But it's hard when you're doing this, you don't really, there's no real way to do that here, you know? Like you have to lay everything down. You can't, it's like you can throw down all this color and then scrape away, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So like, see, I probably should have just, if I was going to keep this pink, I should have just lightly faded it and done white at the top. I'm doing more of this color, by the way, like these paintings, these backgrounds where there is half of it's in white and the top is, or bottom's in color. So the Zelda one's going to be like that. And that came from when I did the chunks were that way. And I should have done that here, I think. But I mean, whatever.
You live, you learn, you regret.
Whatever.
I think it turned out nice, Rob.
Yeah, but when I get to the top, I knew I fucked up. I'm just telling you right now. I knew I fucked. I'm like, how do I fix this? And I did fix it. I just didn't fix it on camera. But now looking at it, I know what the solution would have been. Would just to take right where I do right there. If I just add water and go to the top and just blend it lightly right around the top of that mallet, you know, with the pink, and then just all the pink on the bottom and let it be white at top. That was the answer. This is where right here. This is where I fuck up. No, don't do it, Rob. You're going to stress about this. Here we go.
Stupid past self.
I blame the Savage Dragon piece. And then you telling me that was a good piece. And now I'm like, how do I live up to it?
God damn it. Now you got to make me feel guilty.
Yeah.
Whatever. Make Uncle Jerk feel bad. It's all my fault, guys. Like, I fucked up the drawing.
But like, this is why I'm glad we're doing this, because I would not have had, I'm not, you know, like I'll put these on to learn from it, but I'm not, generally speaking, I don't sit and watch my own art. You know, I did it already. Why would I do that again?
Yeah.
You know, man.
And I certainly don't consider myself someone worth, it's weird. Like I don't, look, imposter syndrome is real. All right. I am not the person who thinks I should be talking about my art in any kind of manner. However, I do recognize that even my art friends get some level of enjoyment out of this because they've told me, hey man, it's something to put on while I'm working and shit. So, all right, you know, however, what I can say, if I got anything out of this, was that, you know, it does allow me to go, at this point, I could have stopped there. And that's what I keep telling you, like, even though it may appear like I'm getting more complicated, I'm actually getting simpler. You know, I was doing things a real hard way 10 years ago, you know, and I've gotten more efficient and more simpler. And I've learned how I've just put that effort back into something else on the piece, you know, and then learn how to pull. And then eventually, right around the time I turn 50, I'll figure it all out. And then I just got to hope I can survive long enough to, you know, it's not an efficient way to work.
Well, someone's got to put in the legwork.
I mean, it's not, you know, I hope some kid gets something out of this.
Well, I'm not some kid anymore, but I do.
I should have left that top white. Poor Rob. And I kind of feel it here, like, this is not going the way I thought.
You could see the pin, the brush stopping, and you're like,
and I'm looking down, and I'm like, can I believe, I remember at one point thinking I may have to redo this. That's why I took a break and walked away, and like I went and did dinner or took a nap or something. I know there was a point where I stopped. I'm like, oh, I'll have to think about this.
Is there ever any like points in your stuff where you like hit doing a certain thing where you know that it's important to, not when you fuck something up, but like, is there any time where you feel like, I talk to some artists that really like to walk away from their stuff and they'll give it a day or two or at least a few hours and then come back to it. You know, is that a big thing for you, or do you like to kind of like sit down and like powerhouse through it and figure it out as you're doing it and make it work?
Depends on the piece, but I will say consistently when I finish a piece, I need to not roll into the next one. I need a day, and that's not good for deadlines. I need to, this is why sometimes when I see peers of mine producing a lot of work, I'm like, maybe, I mean, you got to pay your bills, so I get it. But if that's not the case, like you got a little ways to think here, you probably should do half that. If you're trying to create a consistent body of like, you know, like I guess for me, like I grew up in that era where every artist felt like they were getting better every time you saw their stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I've always felt like people should, it should never feel like I went backwards,
Okay.
you know? And so, will I make a piece where I feel I went too far and I did go back? Sure. But I've found that usually that happened because I did not take an appropriate amount of time to take a step back.
Step back.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so sometimes I will like group 4 or 5 things together pretty quickly and do them like the chunks or something like that. And then I'll take the step back, you know? So it's not like I need like a day to rest after every giant piece. However, if I'm working in the realm of the unknown, you know,
Mm-hmm.
if I don't really know how to do this, then yeah. And I think here I should have just done the whole bottom first, you know, because I already knew once they'd started the top, but you know, and I even thought like maybe there's a way I could like paint over, but you can't paint over. You know, it will always have some kind of weird, you know,
Artifact. Yeah.
and I like the way that if you look on the right hand side, the olive green blends into the white as it fades off. So I was like, I'm not gonna get that back. So, oh well, you know. Oh well. I mean, when I would finish a Spawn Kills issue, sometimes I'd have a week off. Sometimes I'd have the script ready right away. But rather than not do something, I could do something different. Like, I started doing color guides on that book to help my colorist out, so he didn't have to like figure shit out, you know, because he colors the monthly King Spawn or the monthly main book. They kind of tag team, and so he colors a lot of Brett Booth's work. So it's like I'm like, I don't want him to have to think about, you know, figuring my shit out when he's working on more important things. So
Way to fucking undermine yourself there. More important shit.
look, I'm also aware of the hierarchy, right?
Yeah, because
Brett
I
Booth is
definitely
far more
read
important to Todd McFarlane than a Sketchcraft. All right, let's just be honest. It's fine.
as much of a Booth fan as I am, and God knows I'm a Booth fan.
Well, he's gonna give them a monthly book, and that's how that works. And there's always a hierarchy. Yeah, at comic companies, it's monthly artists, you know, and then interior artists, and then cover artists are last, you know, on terms of what's important to them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
You wouldn't think it because of the way the sales work, but they need volume, and covers don't give them.
Oh, yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, what really sells is trades. And so if you want to know why, you know, I may or may not, I don't know, I'm just saying, I may or may not be working on another Spawn is because of the trade sales at the end of the day, not the floppies.
Interesting.
Cover incentives are really good for retailers if they can move them, you know?
Yeah.
They're not good in terms of how many fucking books they got to buy to get those covers. That's what's good for the publisher. But as we all know, but I would just say the hierarchy is definitely monthly artists, you know, then just regular interior artists, then cover artists.
That's so... It's funny to hear that out loud, like knowing the pay rates and stuff.
Look, man, no one's getting paid enough,
No.
you know, but they can find a cover artist anywhere. Oh shit. I don't know what happened.
I don't know either.
All right. People won't know. I'll just keep going.
Okay.
Let me see if I can switch over. Sorry, folks. On my end, is this not? Why is it not showing Uncle Jerk? It just wants to give me the remove button.
Uh-oh.
It doesn't want to like let me drag. There. Let me see if I can. One of these stupid buttons. There you go.
There we go.
I don't know what happened. But I think the idea is that there's always going to be a cover artist somewhere. But people these days who are willing to draw interiors are harder to come by because the complexities and times, blah, 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 blah. That's essentially it.
It makes sense. It's just,
I mean, if they have Alex Ross is doing a cover or Rob's doing a fucking trade paperback of Spawn Kills, they're going with the Alex Ross. It's not, it's not because, but if you think about from a publisher standpoint, what you need,
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I've never heard it quite. I don't think I've heard it verbalized like that. Interestingly enough.
Well, it was verbalized to me by someone pretty important to the industry. I just won't say the name. You could probably guess who.
I would never say.
Here I'm like, well, what do I do? Just add some more pink and I'll figure it out. The jump is going to be pretty drastic. Because even when I was putting this together, I'm like, oh, it just jumps, don't it? Damn.
And that's why I never record my shit, because I always fuck something like that up and then I get obsessive about it and I'm like, I can't believe I did that. It's useless. I'm not going to use it.
You cannot share it. I mean, record it, You don't have to stream it.
Yeah, that's true. God damn you and your logic, Rob. Fuck you.
Because you're going to, I don't know, man, unless you're a genius, you're going to forget how you did shit.
Dude, every goddamn time. Holy Christ. How much have I forgotten? More than I will ever know. As little sense as that sentence made.
I think what it is now I'm not looking at them. I'm looking at the top of the frame for some reason. I don't know why that is. Like I'm looking, just when I look at this, I just go right to the top. So I was like, how do I put the focus back on them? And I'm certain it's probably some value issue, but
how do you steer? I get tunnel vision really bad sometimes when I'm working. Do you have any ways that you kind of try to fight that tunnel vision?
What do you mean tunnel vision?
Where you hone it, you're just staring at a certain thing. Maybe it's a problem or something that you think needs to be adjusted, or
that comes from just doing t-shirts, man. You can't get focused on one little piece. It has to be the whole piece.
It has to be
when you're designing a t-shirt, no one buys a t-shirt for that little bit.
Oh, okay.
You buy a t-shirt because you're like, oh, that thing is dope as is.
That shirt is dope, the webbing on that is
the body,
super cool.
The color of the body, the design. It's all the whole package. So you have to be thinking the whole thing. I don't really think about the sword is the thing or the mallet is the thing. It's really the whole piece. And so now I'm not thinking, oh, the background didn't work for me. It's the whole piece isn't working for me because that background didn't.
Okay.
So it's not trying to make the background work. It's that, okay, I've somehow thrown off the balance of the whole piece.
And now I have to make the piece work.
Right. And so I just assume at this point, it's a value issue. Anytime when you're working with color, you have hue, you have value. To me, the hues look pretty good, right? The hues of the color. So it's a value. So I'm trying to add dark, but I can only go with Distress Ink. You can't really, there's a point where you lay down color and it will never go darker than that color. It's not like watercolor where you can keep laying down stuff and to get mud. With Distress Ink, it will never go beyond a certain value. Try it. You'll see. So you have to put down another darker value of something to get a darker value. You'll not get it from the same color. And so my solution to this problem as a whole piece is to step away, go do something else, and think about it. And I'm like, well, if they're dark in the center and I'm looking around the edges, it's because the edges are brighter, and I need to darken the edges so the brightness is the one right behind them, so it draws you to the center. If that makes any sense. And then when I add the white scritchy outline, that'll also pop them forward, if that makes any sense.
Was that planned from the very start, or was that just?
Yeah, I knew I was gonna do that. I knew I was gonna do that. The white outline, because I did that on the chunks.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I knew that was part of the plan. But I just knew pink all the way around. Unfortunately, it worked in the comp. I thought the comp looked good, but it just didn't. When you get it together, you're like, huh.
Things that make you go,
Yeah, believe me, I'm like. It's a lot. You get to this step, you're like, it's not a good time. See, I could see me adding some of that distress, but there's only so much you're gonna get. So
yeah, that's like one of the big things I fight is I really layer stuff, and I rely on that watercolor ideal of like being able to build and build and build. And like I think that's one of the things that Distress Ink has really helped me with is like being more mindful of my colors.
And it'll keep you from making mud. I mean, if you layer
really,
too many watercolors, you will get mud. But Distress Ink doesn't really work that. It kind of prevents you from doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, P.H. Martin's does too. Look there. There's a jump.
Oh yeah.
Right? Now you're looking right in the center of the piece, right? Like. And so what I tried to do was I said, okay, rather than this be green or olive, I tried to make it like they're toxic,
Oh,
they're toxic,
nice.
or they're toxic. So I tried to make it more like poison, like the Joker gas, Put on that Britney Spears song, Yeah, that's what I did.
That's obviously the answer.
The background is it's a purpley color. Burnt mahogany or something like that.
Yeah, it sounds right. Yeah,
it's burnt mahogany, and then a little bit of that plus another one of the greens. I threw around the edges of the green just to stain them up and to give that kind of toxic chemical vibe. But you look right in the center of the piece now.
Oh yeah, works great. So for the I hear a lot of people and you don't use and this is not I just don't want it to sound negative. I hear a lot of people trash talk on ghosting lines because they kind of, I think in a large part came out of like graffiti culture and that kind of stuff.
What's ghosting lines?
The white lines you're putting around.
Oh, like highlights or outlines?
Yeah, but specifically white around characters to break against color in unnatural ways. Like right there where you're doing the hair.
Yeah.
Over the punchline.
Yeah, this is what I would do on t-shirts, man.
Is it just t-shirts?
Yeah, that's where I learned it.
Okay.
And so I'm like, I don't give a shit. I've sold millions of dollars worth of t-shirts. I don't want anyone telling me,
well, that's why I said I don't want it to sound negative because you don't use it in the same way that a lot of people almost use it like a trapping line. And
remember, I'm also silicure. I'm going the color pencil and I'm thinning that out too. See?
Oh, okay.
So you can use the color pencil to taper, to thin,
and almost shade in over that.
And if it's a little too much right there, I can go back over it and add some of the scribbly line back. I can control it.
Yep.
So you don't have to worry about getting it just right the first time. I don't know why that's going dark. It'll get fixed. But
it's like my brain. It just
I got an overhead light. Sometimes when I move, it turns it off.
I'm just giving you shit. It's just like my brain. It just stops working sometimes.
But I mean, in terms of like, I've had people say, like, I've seen like Richard Friend when he was going over steampunk. He inked that book. And he was saying that, he puts these white outlines on the inks to pop things forward and it looks great in the ink, but when it gets to color, it doesn't always work out. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll tell you why, because it's built into the ink and it needs to be over. It needs to be done in color and over the piece. He should not be doing that on his inks, and the colors should be doing that over the art. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, but colorists never want to go over lines.
No, they don't. Yeah, that's kind of a big
So
no-no.
I have, because I even tried it on Spawn a couple times where I did it in the inks and then let the colors do it, and it doesn't work. I have to go back over. So I don't do it at all now. And then when the colorist sends me back their stuff, I always say, hand that over to me, and then I do it.
Give Rob more work.
Yeah. Well, that too, and they don't have to worry about pissing me off about it. Sometimes they get a colorist who goes, but that's not what I want. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Look, when these colors are great, you're gonna get the credit, and when they're bad, I'm gonna get the credit. So I don't really fucking care. But I go into this with this being part of the process.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
See?
Yeah, and your stuff isn't illegible either, because I think that's a big part of why people kind of like revolt against ghosting.
Yeah, I'm not
lines.
relying on it. I could not do it, and people would go, "That looks cool," but I'm doing this to then, build up and continue again that gestural look. I don't want it to be too solid. I still want it to feel, Some people say it's like graffiti. I don't make graffiti. I've never tagged anything. Like I'm as, I don't, I mean, do I listen to Northern Funk and New Jack City, and I have an active subscription to Mag Mob, so I like Jazzy Jeff and stuff, but like I don't walk around, go like I don't rejuxtapose magazines. I wouldn't call myself that. I would say that again, I just found on t-shirts, you want to keep it energetic and loose. You don't want a piece that's too solid, like a wall of something. And so I then try to put that back into my own colors to make them feel, again, just a little bit more handcrafted and not like rendered pieces.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So again, it says Sketchcraft, right? Not final rendered craft.
But it's a fine line, and it's I think it's I don't think, I know it's scary because I fight that in my own stuff. So
what, doing like outlines and stuff?
Being loose.
Oh.
Not being and I say this with love, not in an insulting way, quote unquote perfect. Like I come from my main art schooling, really the guy that I took the most away from and I respect the most as an artist was a tattoo artist. And like so in tattooing you live and die by the line. And you have to pull that perfect line, and it has to be pulled one time.
Yeah, I don't live in that world. So like that to me that's why I don't do tattoo. There is no perfect line, and I'm never gonna get that, So I look at it this way: like Scotty and Daniel and them work in black and white, but I feel I can get that in color. That's how I look at it.
Okay. See. Oh yeah. Okay.
So if you look at what they're doing, I'm doing it. I'm just doing it in color, and they're getting like 8 times the amount of work done as I am. Like there's, But however, I do have final color pieces, and these look pretty good when they're all done. So I don't like. Look, I like the way this came out. So when I say, "Oh, I should have stopped here or there," but now I look at this, I'm like, this does look pretty good though. Like, I just gotta tell you, man, that top piece, I stressed over that a little bit. I won't lie. There was a point where I'm like, I may have to start over. And I haven't had to start over a whole piece. That rarely happens. But it has happened. Now I'm gonna go to some. Here I'm using the cream instead of the white. Again, it's just drawing.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I was looking at my own shit here. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, just fading that out a little bit and still holding those lines, but making them less apparent sometimes
Well,
and
there's
blending
yellow in
stuff in.
there's yellow in the green, so the cream
Yeah,
will
yeah.
will work, you know.
Just kind of blends right in there.
And I'm adding extra stuff to the drawing that, you know, you couldn't just do with color pencil alone.
No, you can't. This right here is the like next step that I really want to take is the Posca plunge. I've been so broke, I just haven't been able to afford them, but I really want to.
Shit, man! I forgot. I'm gonna get you a set, dude. You'll have that this week.
Oh shit, you don't get got it.
No, that's my Christmas
I
present. You got enough shit. It's gonna get. If I send it to the same address, you're good to go, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
for
get
now,
that shipped
yeah.
No, I sold that Batman shot. I told you the next piece I sell, I'll get you those pen.
Oh, dude, you didn't. Oh man.
I don't care, dude. Yeah. So,
God damn it.
you'll put it to good use. But you can see, like here, like so, I'm using the yellows coming from the left to the right. You know, it's sort of the idea. But I'm just squiggling in, you know, highlights and I'm actually not and the chrome is really nice, like the spikes, because you kind of go over the lines and then kind of add a little bit of pop that you wouldn't get. This is where I felt I you know what else set me on this path was when we were doing the Chioda color guides. I'm like, you know, if you just put some opaque paint over this, you could really pop that out. But then I was like, how would they ever do that digitally? You know, it only works in the traditional line art piece. See right there with the chrome, like going over with the yellow.
Yeah. No, sorry, I'm very much like sitting here ogling this right now because this is like some of your.
Well, this one's gonna go by fast, so you know, I don't know how.
Well, it's just the touches, you know.
Well, the hair will get some effort, you know, but that you can see with the sword is why I didn't put a ton of work into it, because I knew that part would come in later. But and plus I'll throw some into the background too, which I picked up on the dragon piece, like how to like throw some of the scribble into the distress ink. This part I was a little uncertain whether I should have added the green into this. I'm still like, I don't think it needed that, but you know. I wanted her to have some green on her because of the Joker.
I was gonna say, I don't know, that really works for me. Maybe I'm just gushy. Maybe I just love your shit.
I don't know. The
too
boots
much.
area is where I think I probably didn't need much.
The back of the boot on that back left boot looked really nice with it, I thought. Or left boot, sorry. Dyslexic dipshit here.
I still think this character needs a redesign. I'm not a fan of this current version.
Yeah, you're right. Harley Quinn does need a redesign again, because we need to go farther away from Bruce Timm, because she wasn't brilliant in it. I know you're talking about Punchline. I'm being a smart ass.
I'm not, like, I love roller derby. I got friends in roller derby. I'm not a fan of the roller derby Harley.
It's fucking stupid.
It's just not. It's not for me.
It is not Harley Quinn.
Yeah, it feels like a new character.
Like, we drug her out of the cartoon into the comic, and then what do? We just crap all over her and like make her into a sexy roller derby chick.
I'm trying to soften some of that green with the pen. I'm like, I don't know how much. What I
I
ended up doing was using the black to try and make it look a little like a core shadow, a little bit.
Okay.
That's why I saved the black till the end, as much as possible.
Yeah. Really helps stuff.
Put a little color, yellow on top.
Oh, see, that's freaking gorgeous.
And to me, like, this is when I told you, like, I would send samples and I go, which looks more? And you go, oh, this one. But, you know, when you see the full color pencil, you appreciate it. But then when you see all the Posca and stuff on top, you know what I mean? You go, well,
Yeah.
Each are their own thing, you know. I even think now if I did a full color pencil, I'd still do Posca on top.
Yeah, it's really definitely becoming part of your style, Rob. Taking it back there. I'm
I think
clever.
what
I
the
remember
most
what we
impressive
talked
part
about
of this,
3
the only
hours
part
ago.
about this piece that I actually got, I can't believe I did that, was when I do there's these little like reflections in white that I not reflections, but like lens flare kind of highlight things.
Mhm.
And no ruler, I just draw it out. And I was like, at the time I was like, maybe I should do it. I'm like, fuck it. You know, like, you know, if I already decided I might want to restart, so I'll just do the whole fucking, you'll see. Like, I'm like, a Rob from 5 years ago probably would have guided that out with a ruler, but I was like, fuck it.
I hate straight edges so much.
Yeah, I just thought it would ruin, you know. Plus, you never know with the ruler if it's gonna like
Line
stick
up
to the
and,
side, you know, when you pull the ruler off, you know, like.
Yep.
So I'm like, I'd rather be not perfectly straight than risk whatever ruler could fuck up, you know.
Yep. God damn,
So.
It makes me happy to hear you say that.
Yeah, but people do get nervous, you know. You just
Oh,
gotta
I
draw
get nervous as shit.
You gotta draw with your elbow, not your wrist. You know, it's
Yeah.
basically it. You know?
Yeah, you got to learn to either draw with your elbow or your shoulder. I've seen Neil Adams do a couple of demonstrations where he talked about that.
Well, it's your shoulder, yes, but these are smaller pieces, so it would have.
Yeah, that's yeah, definitely. I'm just saying the shoulder is.
If I was going across the whole page, I more. Now here, see, I add the pink into the hair.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The Posca.
Yeah, just popping stuff. Yeah, and blending stuff in, really nice.
And I'll add the pink and the blue in that midsection of Punchline's hair. But then I'll also use that pink from the right side so it bounces off. It's like it's bouncing off her, you know?
Man, that really makes... God, it's so subtle.
It just adds little bits. And this is what, like, I'm like, well, on the final pieces, I'm pretty confident. When you get it, people are like, this is fucking dope, you know? So, and it's not because I did it, but I'm just like, oh, you can see way more in. Now here I'll add the pink over into the distress ink, and it just kind of blends in.
Yeah, it just adds a little bit more personality and more blending.
Yeah,
keeps
it looking
pop.
sketchy, but it's not overwhelming. And so, yeah, man, this is just one of those happy accidents I discovered from the remark. You know, that I, you know, did not know was going to happen, and it just happened because I was at that store signing and I just forgot pens. So
I remember when that happened and you were like, dude, you gotta see this. You gotta see this.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, dude, you're right. But now, like, what, 6 months, 8 months out from that, at least, it's like a whole different beast now, man.
Yeah, and if we weren't living in a fascist timeline, I would have got a lot more art done in that time too, by the way. But even I have mental limits. To say that the events of this year have not affected my productivity would be a lie.
Yeah, you're like me. You're a super sensitive guy. And I say that with all the kindness and love. You're just a super sensitive guy, man.
We live in unprecedented times. Here we go. Here's the gleam. So.
Balls of steel, folks. I almost said it again, but I won't. You're definitely not free anything.
This one right here. This one right here was the stressful. Like this one. Because look at how far it has
look
to go.
at how fucking clean that is, though.
Yeah. You're just like, well, I hope I don't, you know, it doesn't, you know, then like I add a little bit of that, you know.
And it's not like you can just hit it one time. Like you got to go over it a couple of times and build those line. But man, ooh.
Yeah, so it's not a big deal, but you know, you can stress over that sort of shit.
Well, yeah, dude, because like you get that white on there and it's that Posca. What are you gonna do? Like razor blade it off? Like no.
And sometimes they drip. Dude. You know what I mean? Like they blob, and I'm always with the white is especially prone to that for whatever fucking reason. And so I'm always like, oh, if it puts a big blob on there, doesn't matter because I can throw some splat on anyway. But yeah, there's a splat. And this is just me dabbing the Posca and adding a little water to it, and then.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask what it was. Yeah.
You can use acrylic wash, and I have it, and I have made my own, but
Yeah.
here I'm just using the Posca with a little bit of water.
Man, that helps blend stuff.
Again, this is just stuff I pulled from doing the saucies, but using it as a finishing or the whole piece.
Rather than like the entirety of the piece. Yeah, interesting.
I think.
Man, that is gorgeous, dude.
Well, we'll know because I'll start to peel the paper off. I think that's in here. We'll see. But look, at the end of the day, man, like I think the piece looks dope.
That's gorgeous.
But there was definitely parts where I'm like, here, see, I want little accoutrements.
Yeah, see, this is where I have a tendency to mess stuff up. I will noodle shit to death like this.
I think it's just I've done so many t-shirts. I know where to stop,
Yeah. Well, you also know how to filigree stuff, like where to make stuff
Sure.
blend and
I have
apart
fucked up many a t-shirt. And like that was like I could get fired, like it wasn't like the kind of t-shirts people make for like, fun. Like that's a day job. Like it's like I gotta, when they're like, you better get this figured out or you're not gonna be here tomorrow, Like I don't know what you mean. Like how do I figure it out? Just figure it out. So,
by doing it, Rob. By doing it. What is it you want me to do? It, Rob.
I'll say this though, in person, these things are brighter than my prints.
Really?
Yeah, they're really. The color is really good, like. So,
is it hard to scan these in?
Yes. So I scan it in and it gets all fucked up. And then I will eventually fix it, but I have to go through Photoshop and do every trick I know to put it back on. And I use my photographs. I've tried to just do photographs alone, but they really don't come out unless you have a really good studio setup, which I don't.
Yeah.
They just don't. They don't work the way you'd think they would. I mean, like my friend Megan Hetrick, she photographs all her oil paintings, but she's got like a full garage and I can't. My wife has a limit to what I can do around this place, so. The scanner, I know this when it scans, all the information is there. If you think about it, it's just in all the wrong order, And
knowing how to pull that stuff back
photograph all you want, it still has to print. Right? So it doesn't really matter what you photograph, it will still print it bad if you don't have the colors and gamut and everything else. So does it take me an hour, sometimes 3 or 4 hours a piece? Maybe. Usually an hour or two, maybe 3 or 4 tops. But at least then I know when I set it up, it's ready to go for print. It's not just,
Man, that is a video I would love to do sometime.
Oh, like fix it? We could do this one. I haven't done this if you want at some point.
Yeah, abso-fucking-lutely.
How do I fix this and put it on? There you go. So I cut out the ripping the paper off.
Ripping the paper?
It would make you feel bad. You'd no! You say, it looks good, but if you saw the paper white come off the blue, you'd freak out, There it is. It's all done. All right. 1 second. All right. So then that's that, Thanks for hanging out, Uncle Jerk, man. That's a long one.
Dude, I had so much fun. And I thank you so much, dude. Like, shit has been so crazy lately. This has just been the nicest break.
Oh, I hope so, man. I mean, like, I have one of the things that's helped my sanity this past year has been going back to the movies. Regal Cinemas has like a $22 a month, movie pass. And not just for new movies, it's all free. And then they've been playing older movies too. So I saw like Casablanca on the big screen, Citizen Kane,
Oh, wow.
And Dracula and Frankenstein and all those things. And Psycho. Yeah, dude. And so this month it's all war movies. So they're, going to re-release 1917 and Dunkirk and even older ones, So, it's just, it's been nice to go somewhere and not have to think about something for a couple hours,
Yeah, I bet.
So hopefully this sort of video does that for other people. You know what I mean? You don't have to think about other shit too much,
God, I hope so.
And hopefully they pull something out, you're able to, folks, you're able to use any one of these techniques. You don't have to use all of them, but pick one,
Mix and match them.
Yeah,
Have fun.
Yeah. Share, let me know. Show me what you learn, do not ever use the blue artist tape, by the way. There's this purple. The same cats make this purple artist tape. It's like a light lavender. Use the light lavenders for delicate surfaces. Scotch 2080 delicate surface light lavender. That's what you want. Because believe me, if you saw me pull that blue and that white came up, everyone would be freaking out. But it looks fine on the front. It didn't pull that much paper off. It's just very superficial, but
That is the worst feeling though, dude.
Yeah.
You can hear that sound and and you see the paper stuck and you're like, no.
I know. Yeah. What can you do? But I do like having the edge. I like the art not going to the border. So.
It makes it really, really pop.
Yeah, and it just gives people, when they frame it, they don't feel like they're losing art,
Losing art, yeah.
That's
totally.
basically my theory on it. So anyways, folks, thanks for hanging out. Uncle Jerk, thanks for hanging out. You can all follow Uncle Jerk at Jerk Comics, right? Or is it Jerk Comics on YouTube?
Jerk Comic, but yeah.
Jerk Comic, right? And we'll have the link below, so you can click that there. And you can join us every couple times a month for the Sketchcraft shout out. We just wrapped up. We just posted the Carlos Meglia's Superman, and we're going to be posting up Mitchell's versus the Machine for Thanksgiving.
I cannot wait for that one.
Yeah, dude, that's going to be that's a super fun one. And then next month we got X-Men 97, or X-Men the original animated series. We got the book for that. We're going to be covering that book.
So chuffed, man.
I know, right? It's going to be awesome. So do support Uncle Jerk when you can. And as always, if you want to support me, just follow, like, subscribe to the channel if you can, and go check out sketchcraft.com. I'm going to head out of here. Uncle Jerk, say goodbye.
Bye-bye.